American Comics. Multiverse of all universes will be invaded to the Marvel world. Chapter 61. Feng Yuan couldn't help but look at the stars with strange eyes. In his impression, this captain would sometimes give strange orders, causing the death of team members, or torture him in different ways. Is this kind of person really qualified to say that he is incompetent? Zhu Xingtuan felt a strange sight and immediately turned his head to look over. Feng Yuan had already withdrawn his gaze and was doing push-ups hard. While everyone was talking about it, the mobile task force had already begun to take action. They decided to take the risk alone to attract the attention of the monsters. Have this person run into the distant building and attack these monsters with a sniper rifle. Of course, the sniper rifle cannot cause any damage, and most importantly, attract the attention of this group of monsters. Ho 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 ho. Sure enough, this method worked. The monsters all noticed the sniper in the distance, and rushed over at an astonishing speed, smashing into buildings and hammering the ground. Their huge bodies quickly approached the building where the sniper was. Although the sniper's face was full of fear when he saw this, in order to complete the mission, he continued to shoot and attract as many monsters as possible. The other members of the mobile task force quickly ran towards the tower while the monsters were gone. Boom. At the same time, the building where the sniper was located had been destroyed, and he was dragged out, cut into pieces by several giant monsters and thrown into the mouth, not even crammed between the teeth. The monsters killed the sniper and immediately walked towards the tower, just in time to see the advancing mobile task force. Ho 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 ho. Seeing the appearance of strange humans, the monsters were so stimulated that they howled extremely angrily, then moved their huge arms with all their strength and ran towards them. Hurry, hurry. When the members of the mobile task force saw the monsters running back, they all ran as fast as they could. They had to enter the tower no matter what. Ho 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 ho. The next second, the group of monsters came back at an alarming speed, surrounded the humans who dared to invade here, and then hunted them down. At this moment, countless blood splashed. Seeing this, everyone thought those people were dead. But when the screen changed, I saw a member of the mobile task force lying on the ground behind a door in the tower, gasping for air. He was the only one who survived and successfully entered the tower. His designation is C-123. C-123 stood up with difficulty and looked outside through the window. He found that the creatures outside seemed not to know that anyone had entered the tower and were slowly wandering around. This made C-123 breathe a heavy sigh of relief. Homage to the dead. C-123 was not immersed in sadness and fear of loneliness. Instead, he faced the door at the back and made a standard military posture, then turned around and continued walking forward. He also has his own mission, and he must figure out what is happening in this world. The tower has many rooms and very high floors. Fortunately, there are no mechanisms. Let C-123 explore smoothly. However, nothing useful could be found along the way. It was not until we reached a place that looked like a control room that we finally found a clue. The computer in the control room was still running normally, so C-123 decided to investigate the computer to see if there was any information. As a result, he really discovered the secret of this world. My name is, I am an agent of the Conservancy, and my world is in 1972. Seeing the first sentence, C-123 looked shocked and immediately reported through the intercom. The 4 words, my world, mean that this agent comes from the shelter in another parallel universe. If you keep reading, you may have important information. C-123 quickly scrolled down and saw many shocking things. In this world, I assume it is the same as my world, but from what I can see, the creatures in this world ended around 1954. I used that weird disc to travel to some places in the world. Start from this center and end from this center. I've seen landscapes that were barren of vegetation. I also tried to escape from the hands of the unclean ones, who chased whatever they felt. I didn't understand how they hunted, but I understood what they were. About 350 years ago, the world experienced a technological explosion that was unprecedented in our world. The source of all this seems to be caused by the arrival of him, a godlike being of unknown origin. He claimed that the world was unclean and full of sin, and that the only way to purify original sin was to purify the sinner. After a war, whoever survives is pure. Over the next 10 years, as all civilizations, science and technology improved dramatically in preparation for this war, he disappeared. Regardless, the war was started, and the instigator was the Holy United States, the same as the United States of our world. Records of this period are sketchy, and books detailing anything about this period are banned in this world. By tracing a series of broken computer communications systems, I located a cache of historical information. It seems that the basic weapon used in this war for his love is actually humans exposed to a certain liquid compound called his holy tears. I still see this compound in many abandoned medical facilities. Sacred tears can cleanse the impure from sin and make them love God, at least that's what it says. The records I recovered are very vague about this war, other than claiming that the saints he chooses cross the land of sin and bring sinners to their sins. Those who resist his love man is purified by its radiance. But something seems to have happened that no one knows how to fix. The unholy ones are giant semi-humanoid creatures that devour any living and breathing creature they come across. I actually found a scientific research report written by someone who stumbled into this place. Those creatures were the result of exposure to very high purity of God's tears, which resulted in severe genetic mutations. There are some terms here, such as quantum recombination and so on. Although I don't understand these at all, it means that they were once humans like us. They cannot be controlled, but they can be contained. They seem to be attracted by the tears of God, so a center will be set up in the center of different areas, where a person will stay with the purest tears of God, keeping those who are unclean in what is called the dry place, inside the area. Something went wrong with that stuff, for reasons unknown, but everything fell apart. Power facilities, civilization, humans, everything was reduced to ruins, and the unclean ones who staggered on the earth became the new rulers of the earth without any purpose or direction. If you can stand the stench, you can stand next to an unclean one and they will just pass you by. But if they notice you, you are dead. They will move as fast as thunder when necessary, and if there is no reason to speed up, they will move as slow as a snail. Sometimes, I guess they are simply chasing things, and other times, they move to hunt creatures. I guess there is someone, hiding in this facility, as I often hear voices and requests coming from below this floor. Before I explore this facility further, I'm going to throw it away. I threw the disc back into the mirror I entered to seal the entrance. We can't let these things into our world and we shouldn't have a hand in it. I don't think we're smart enough to understand it yet. I don't think the unclean will die. They are immortal, but they don't want that. They just want to die. In my mind, I haven't noticed until now that the equipment in this room is showing me things, and whatever is displayed on the screen is begging for help. I remember touching tears of God, smelling it, tasting it, just touching it. I didn't eat it, I just touched it, tasted the acidity, and I thought, our investigation process was really SB ha ha ha. The senior priests are still alive. They have technology that we can only imagine in comics, given by that person. Some of the records on this machine indicate space travel, but they wouldn't go too far, just far enough to watch the world fall apart and wait to come back and take over. But if they all go up, who is accompanying me in this building? I saw the faces of the people, the unclean ones. They appear in the photos printed by the machine, in the same room with me, looking at me. I guess they are everywhere in this world and can only be seen by these machines. They don't look sad or happy, just purely curious. They want to know, why them, why is this happening? I don't know. I really don't know. When I encountered them, they revealed things to me that were different from what was written in the records. The unclean ones remember everything, and everyone they touch becomes a part of them. They are safe inside, but dead to us. All thoughts, all feelings, all fears are eternal to them. I kind of want to join them, but there's so much to do. They want me to find him and kill him. There is no war at all. Everything is caused by it. He comes from the gap between light and darkness in the world of time and space. But should not have entered this world, and they called it a god, and they worshipped it, and they tasted it, and touched it, and lived with it, and became its slaves, and did its will, and it's still here as the one it brought. It brought that disc, it entered it powerfully, it built it. I don't know that they don't know, but it belongs to it. It makes it travel between different places and different worlds, So I destroyed it, ha 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 ha. I threw away the pieces of it and went through the hole, so the doors to those worlds were closed just like our worlds. I can't go home, and then what else can I do? It emerges from the stone, and somehow it knows where they are but can't reach them, but if you hide the stone, you can't get out and you're still stuck. I found you. Son of a fool, I got you. Bang bang haha, I met him. With my fist. And guns. He fell. But he will get up. Soon. I'm sorry, I've done all I can, now let me sleep, please, let me sleep. The document ends here. When seeing this, C-123's expression was very ugly, and his brain could not digest so much information at once. At the same time, the screen stopped here, and it seemed that the introduction was over. When the audience saw this, they didn't react for a while. Luffy, who can tell me what's going on? What does this mean? Tony Stark, wait a minute, I'm sorting it out too. This is too much information, and it's very scary. Robin, I have sorted it out. If I understand correctly, those huge monsters, the unclean ones, were originally humans, and were mutated into such monsters by a substance called sacred tears. And all the aborigines of that world were destroyed. Cheated. Bruce Wayne. Yes, he and the priest mentioned in the document were the ones who deceived the world. They were the ones who incited any war to break out, so that humans could destroy themselves and take over the world without any blood. Those giant creatures are probably the troops he wants. Naruto. Is war so easy to start? Jiraiya. I definitely have a say in this. It's really easy to instigate war. As long as you don't have enough supplies or want more, you will find ways to devour weak beings, and weak beings are forced to trying to find a way to survive and find protection from the stronger ones, led to the war escalating repeatedly and finally expanded more and more. Quote. Diana. That's right. As long as human greed remains, war will easily arise. Zhu Xingtuan. The so-called him is taking advantage of the weaknesses of human nature, deceiving mankind, starting a war, and turning mankind into such monsters. Nobita. But what's the use of a world full of monsters and ruins? Odin. It depends on what he is. Some creatures just like to rule a world full of ruins and monsters. I have seen similar things in the universe. Nobita. Ah, warring states. If people in that world were smarter, they probably wouldn't be fooled. Piccolo. That's not necessarily true. I've seen a lot of the fragility of human nature. There are many people who can be provoked by just a few words. Tony Stark. The key is the explosion of technology, because some countries have advanced a lot in technology before they can, and they can't wait to show it off. It's like nuclear weapons. If a country has powerful weapons, it may launch aggression, otherwise countries are trying to develop stronger weapons in order to resist. As a weapons dealer, Tony Stark knows very well how disgusting some people are. Once they get powerful weapons, they can't wait to show off everywhere like a child, even if it hurts others. Barton. Tony Stark, I feel like you are talking about our country. Tony Stark. Ah, it may be a coincidence. Natasha. I care more about what it is, the gap between time and space, shuttling through different worlds. What is it talking about? Ancient One. If I'm not mistaken, this it may be an existence that can travel through different universes, that is, the so-called evil god. Ancient One is very clear about this kind of thing. She doesn't know how many she has encountered when she travels to different worlds to cause lawless destruction and instigate the natives to become her slaves. Dormammu is a representative of them. DC Universe. Diana looked at the explanation on the screen. Instigating the outbreak of war is really disgusting. Such an action made Diana very dissatisfied, and she couldn't help but think of an old acquaintance, the god of war Ares. Like this a fool who gives others knowledge and then starts a war. If I were in that world, I would never let him do whatever he wants. Diana clenched her fists in indignation. Nick Fury. Wait a minute, what does it mean to travel through different universes? Is it the same as this screen? Ancient One. You can say that in the world you don't know, there are many demons who can cross the universe and spread faith. The one I want to create in the Red Sea world is this kind of existence. Tony Stark. Why do you know so clearly? Who are you? It's not just a magician. Ancient One. This, I'll explain it later. Buzz. At this moment, the screen in front of everyone suddenly emitted a red light, flashing continuously, and even a violent buzzing sound. What's going on? Everyone was scared when they saw the screen suddenly flashing and making a sound similar to an alarm. There is more than one disk entering the Red Sea world. Several disks have been detected and invaded your world at the same time. Please be prepared. A particularly serious sound came from the screen. After hearing this, everyone didn't react for a while. Bruce Wayne. Wait, what does this mean? Did this disk appear in each of our worlds? Usopp. Hey, why is this? Didn't one disk appear in each world before? How come everyone's world has one now? Strange. That's right. Do you remember the agent in the log who said he was from another parallel universe? That means more than one universe got this disk. Odin. That it. It's a demon that travels through the universe, it won't just focus on one universe. Chopper. That means the monsters in that world will come to us. Usopp. No, Nick Fury. Calm down, it's just a disk, just don't mess with the monsters in it. While everyone was arguing, the screen changed. The screen in front of everyone was divided into 7 areas, each with a different view, and the names of different worlds were written on it. You can choose which world's containment to watch through your mind, the situation in the Red Sea world. After hearing the sound of the screen, everyone understood what was going on with the screen change. So they quickly looked for their own world. Marvel, Asgard. As soon as Odin switched to the screen of the Marvel Universe, he saw Thor, Loki and the 3 warriors of Asgard fighting the ice giant on an ice field. That's Jotunheim. Why is Thor there? Why didn't that guy listen to me? Odin looked at Thor on the screen in shock. He didn't expect this idiot to go to Jotunheim to make trouble. Heimdall, what the hell are you doing? Odin yelled at Heimdall in a rage. He was the gatekeeper of the Rainbow Bridge. Generally speaking, he was not allowed to put down the Rainbow Bridge without Odin's order, but Heimdall dared to disobey privately. I'm sorry, Lord Odin. Heimdall knew that he was in the wrong and immediately knelt on one knee. Is there a mirror in that place? It will be troublesome if Thor goes in. Odin knew that it was not the time to talk about Heimdall, so he hurriedly looked at the screen. At this time, he suddenly noticed something, and his only eye couldn't help but shrink hard. Not good. All soldiers follow me to attack. Odin suddenly ordered like this, as if he was going to go to war. Lord Odin, are you going to start a war? Frigga asked in confusion. Not to start a war, just in case. Odin stared at the screen solemnly and answered. DC Universe. Bruce Wayne immediately switched the screen of the DC Universe to find out where the disc appeared. It seemed to be a department store on the screen. Since it was late at night, there were no customers. On a mirror, there was a red disc, reflecting another world. A department store in Gotham City. Fortunately, there is no one here now. Bruce Wayne saw this and was about to set off immediately. Bang! But the next second, he heard the sound of breaking glass on the screen, so he immediately turned his head, only to see a group of killers running into the department store, smashing and looking for valuable things. Why is there a robber at this time? And he's from Arkham Asylum. Bruce Wayne couldn't help but want to curse. For the first time, he wanted to curse a criminal. He looked at the group of criminals at his feet. He was currently arresting criminals while watching the screen. After confirming that the police car was approaching, Bruce Wayne immediately entered the mirror world. Beep! The Darkwing Bat flew over, letting Bruce Wayne stand on his back, but he kept shouting dissatisfiedly. It followed Bruce Wayne to fight crime, but the contractor never allowed himself to eat people, and he was busy working for most of the night, making himself hungry. Just be patient for a little longer. I'll prepare delicious food for you when you get back. Bruce Wayne calmed down the Darkwing Bat, feeling a little scared. He has already felt the anger and killing intent of the Darkwing Bat. If he doesn't satisfy its appetite quickly, he may be in trouble. At this time, Bruce Wayne noticed that on the screen, Diana had been sending messages. Diana, is this department store in Gotham City? If I had known I wouldn't have left so quickly, I would have gone over to meet you now. Bruce Wayne, what are you here for? And what do you mean you don't leave so quickly? Have you been here just now? Diana, that's not the point. The point is the monsters in that world. I don't want them to escape. Bruce Wayne, wait a minute, what can you do? Diana, you'll know when the time comes. After Diana said this, she never sent another message. This confused Bruce Wayne, but now is not the time for this in the future. He has to go to the department store quickly to avoid the situation from getting more serious. He could see clearly that the disc was quite large and nested in the wall, enough for the monster's arms to stretch out. And there are many strange guys like Diana, so I hope there won't be any problems. Bruce Wayne thought worriedly. Dragon Ball Universe. Sun Wukong and others quickly checked the screen of their own universe. Everyone is very anxious. The Saiyans are coming soon, but if something like this happens now, missing the opportunity for confrontation or having an accident will cause trouble. What appeared on the screen was a castle with a bunch of yellow clouds in the background. In a beautiful room inside, there was a mirror with the disc attached. That mirror is reflecting what the Red Sea world looks like. Hey, this place belongs to Princess Shiji. Sun Wukong recognized this place and shouted in surprise, just as he had already seen the contract building. Sun Wukong. That's the castle in the middle of the snake path in the underworld. I'll go over and have a look. Piccolo. It's in the underworld. I can only leave it to you. Remember to take care of it quickly. Tony Stark. Underworld, what are you kidding me about? Does underworld really exist? Modu. Of course it exists. The underworld in our place is hell, which is equivalent to another dimension. All souls go there after death. Sun Wukong. I don't know about dimensions, but this place looks more like a planet. Modu. Is your hell an alien planet? Go to other planets after death. It's quite interesting. Nick Fury. Now is not the time to care about other universes and underworlds. That stuff also appears in our world. Ancient One. Don't worry, that place is an alien planet, Jotunheim. It won't affect us. Someone will deal with it. Odin. Patton. As long as it doesn't affect you, who are the people fighting up there? Are they aliens? Ancient One. They are ice giants and people from Asgard. I think the one with the hammer is Thor. Tony Stark. What? Asgard? Thor? It's those people who have been saying they are gods here. It turns out they are just aliens. Ancient One. Humph, actually, for humans, powerful aliens can indeed be regarded as gods. Odin. Ancient One, we have known each other for many years. You know this cannot be used to describe our Asgardian clan. Ancient One. I know, you are the exception. Natasha. An alien battle. It's kind of interesting. Vegeta. HMPH, it looks like a weak race at first glance, with not much strength. Odin. If you appear in my universe, you will regret these words. Vegeta. HMPH. Odin looked at Vegeta's speech displeased, and then looked at Thor who was fighting. Why didn't this guy pay attention to the screen at the critical moment? I wonder how much trouble he is in now. Why is his son so mentally retarded? It's your biological child. Shield. Nick Fury stared at the battle between Thor and the ice giant on the screen. This was the second time he saw aliens. Is this an alien? Hill swallowed and said, those Asgardians look similar to humans but are more powerful. Barton was also surprised. But fortunately, it's not on our planet, so we can rest assured. No, you still have to be careful. Who knows if the monsters there will come to our Earth. Nick Fury is full of vigilance. He is worried not only about the Red Sea world, but also about these aliens. He didn't know what attitude these aliens had towards the Earth. If they were hostile, it would be troublesome. The fighting power of their bodies alone looks very scary, and it would be even more dangerous if they have any advanced weapons. What should he, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., do if something goes against the Earth? The more Nick Fury thought about it, the more panicked he became, so he picked up the phone to contact the person. How is the research on that statue going? No, Director, we have tried our best to figure out what is going on with this statue. Whether it is material or molecular structure, it is no different from concrete. Continue to study, there is no way there will be nothing, and allocate manpower to study the cosmic Rubik's Cube. Naruto World. Jiraiya and the others were looking anxiously at the screen of their own world. It would be a bit troublesome if the place where the disc appeared was too far away from them. The picture on the screen turned out to be Konoha Ninja Village. What's in the village? When several people saw this scene, they screamed in shock. Then the screen zoomed in, and two people appeared in their eyes. They are Kakashi and Metkai. Metkai held the disc in his hand with a puzzled look on his face. Kakashi, what do you think this is? I don't know why it appeared in my hand. How do I know this? You put it in your pocket and forgot about it. Kakashi ignored Metkai and kept looking at the book in his hand. No, I checked all my pockets before I went out, and there was no such thing at all. Where did this come from? Kakashi, look at what it is. The more Metkai thought about it, the more confused he became, and he thrust the disc in front of Kakashi's eyes. Don't stop me from reading. However, Kakashi was not interested at all and pushed Metkai away forcefully. Ouch! This caused Metkai to lose his balance and hit the glass next to him. It hurts. Deserved it. As soon as Kakashi finished speaking, he suddenly stopped. Metkai must have hit something, but why was there no sound of the glass being hit? This made Kakashi feel a little confused and turned his head, only to see an unexpected scene. I saw Metkai lying in the reflection of the glass, and that scene was not Konoha Ninja Village at all. Kai, are you okay? And what's going on? Kakashi had to panic now, seeing such a strange scene for the first time. Where is this? After Metkai noticed the change in his environment, he quickly stood up and ran to Kakashi's side. However, when he left the glass, the world immediately disappeared and turned into ordinary glass. Are we dazzled? Kakashi was still confused with his mask, showing his Sharingan and looking at the glass, unable to see anything. Very strange. Kakashi didn't see any chakra, so it wasn't ninjutsu or genjutsu. The more he thought about it, the weirder it became, so he just touched it, but it did feel like glass. Are we dazzled? Metkai also walked up to him in confusion and reached out his hand to touch the glass. As a result, with his touch, the scene on the glass suddenly changed into the scene from another world, and his hand reached in very smoothly. Hey. When Metkai saw this scene, he was immediately frightened and stepped back while screaming. What's going on? Have I seen a ghost? Metkai looked at the mirror in front of him in shock and shouted. However, that scene is no longer visible. No, it's not that simple. This is not an illusion or a ninjutsu. Kakashi had a heavy expression on his face and looked around warily, but nothing happened. Then when his eyes fell on the disc in Kai's hand, he had to be stunned. Is there any relationship between the two? Kei, show me that disc of yours. Why do you want this at this time? There may not be any pornographic films in it. Guy handed the disc to Kakashi with a puzzled look on his face, not caring about the distorted look in his eyes. I didn't mean to do that. When Kakashi took the disc angrily, the color of the disc suddenly changed and turned purple. This sudden color change made Kakashi feel quite confused. Then Kakashi approached the glass again, and the scene behind the glass changed. It was not the strange city he saw at the beginning, but a deserted grassland. What the hell is going on? It's really a toy relationship. Kakashi looked at the disc in his hand in shock. His Sharingan could not see anything, which made him even more confused. Could it be the enemy's new method of invasion? Kai, we have to notify the people above quickly to investigate this matter, otherwise we may be in trouble. Kakashi said solemnly. This weird and confusing thing must be treated seriously. Now that the third Hokage has died, Konoha has been severely damaged, and there is a shortage of manpower everywhere. Under such circumstances, it is undoubtedly very disadvantageous for weird things to happen. Therefore, Kakashi planned to summon the Anbu people immediately to investigate this matter. As a result, when Kakashi looked at Kai, Kai disappeared at some point. Kakashi, just call someone, I'll be the forward. I saw Kai standing in the grassland world opposite the glass, showing his white teeth in a bright smile. Hey, Kai, what are you doing? Seeing Guy actually running in, Kakashi immediately shouted anxiously. Kakashi, my wild instinct tells me that this place is full of danger and must be investigated immediately, so let me investigate. You hurry up and bring someone here. After Kai finished speaking, he got ready to run forward. Kai, this is too dangerous, Kakashi shouted anxiously when he saw Kai being so impulsive. Youth is supposed to be about taking risks. After Kai finished speaking, he immediately ran forward at full speed. Seeing this, Kakashi had to hold his forehead helplessly. This idiot. After Kakashi complained, he immediately formed seals with his hands, slapped the ground hard, and summoned his own psychic beast, the 8 ninja dogs. Let 4 find other ninjas and come over. The rest watch the glass and don't let anyone get close. Then Kakashi also entered this world and chased Metkai. Seeing this, Naruto and the four of them immediately looked panicked. Hey, they're in. What should I do, you lustful immortal? Naruto looked at Jiraiya anxiously and shouted. It's too late to rush back now. They don't know what monsters are inside. Tsunade said through gritted teeth. This place is far away from Konoha Ninja Village. No matter how fast we run, we can't reach it in a short time. No, it's too late. At this moment, Jiraiya suddenly said this. I saw that Jiraiya had entered the Six Paths Sage mode, and extremely powerful chakra poured out crazily. The power of the Sage of Six Paths can directly allow me to fly at the fastest speed, and even teleport so that I can quickly return to the village. Jiraiya said with a serious face. He then released powerful chakra, pulling Naruto, Shizune and Tsunade into the air. Don't bite your tongue. After Jiraiya finished speaking, he began to fly towards the distance at full speed. The speed was so fast that he could no longer see the figure clearly. Ah! Such an astonishing super speed made all three of them scream in surprise. One Piece world. Everyone anxiously switched screens to find where the disc was, but as soon as they switched, they saw Thousand Sunny. On our ship. When Usopp, Nami and Chopper saw this, they couldn't control their facial features and screamed. The huge monster that appeared on the screen before has been lingering in their minds. How could they bear the thought that such a big monster might appear in front of them? It's actually on our ship. I wonder if I can kill that kind of monster if it appears. Zoro licked his lips and said excitedly. Idiot, have you really encountered such a terrifying monster? Didn't you see the screen? The speed of that monster is terrifying. Usopp slapped Zoro on the head to make the fighting maniac clear his head. Now is not the time to talk about this. The most important thing is, where is the disc? Robin grasped the point of the question and looked around. It would be nice to have a small mirror, but the sea can also be regarded as a mirror. If you stick it on it, those monsters can float. Hey, can they swim? Robin's words were surprising, and he captured the key point, but then suddenly changed the focus. That's not the point, Usopp immediately complained. Anyway, let's find it quickly. Frankie glanced around and then looked at the screen. This screen showed the entire ship, not even where it was. It made him very anxious. Okay, then let's spread out and look for it immediately. When we find it, we'll shout. Sanji moved his arms, planning to act now. No need, it's in my hand. Just when everyone was about to disperse, Luffy suddenly said this, causing everyone to stop in their tracks. Hey, after hearing this, the others immediately looked at Luffy in shock. I saw Luffy holding the red disc in his hand, and he was smiling. Where did you pick this up? Nami quickly came over and asked. It's right next to it. Luffy pointed to his feet. This made everyone feel speechless. It was so close and they didn't notice it, but the dullest people did. This is really a blessing for fools. Navy headquarters. TCH, how could they be found so quickly? I really hope they die in that world. Akainu said with an unhappy expression. It's going to be troublesome now. If these people are successfully contained, they will be rewarded. I don't know how strong they will become. Kizaru suddenly said this, which made the three of them unable to help but remain silent. Why is this guy so lucky? Sengoku stared at Luffy on the screen angrily. If it weren't for Garp, he would have launched the demon-slaying order to wipe out the Straw Hat Pirates. Now he can only hope that these guys will not get much power. Aboard the Thousand Sunny, everyone was relieved that they found the disc, so they didn't have to worry about whether there would be monsters coming in through the mirror or something. Yeah. At this time, Luffy kept staring at the disc, not knowing what he was thinking. Seeing Luffy's reaction, everyone couldn't help but sweat dripping from their foreheads. Hey, Luffy, what are you thinking about? You don't want to enter this world, do you? When Usopp spoke, his voice was a little trembling, because he was afraid that Luffy would mess up. Luffy showed his trademark smile, then turned his head to look at everyone. An unknown world, huge monsters, things you have never seen before, don't you want to go in and have a look? Luffy's face was full of excitement, his eyes were constantly shining with stars, and he looked like he really wanted to enter the world of the Red Sea. What a joke. After hearing this, Nami immediately became furious and yelled at Luffy. Didn't you see what was on the screen just now? Have you forgotten how terrifying and how many monsters there are? What if you die in there? Nami grabbed Luffy's throat and shook him. It made Luffy almost die. Don't you think so? You shouldn't enter this stupid Red Sea world. Nami looked to the others for permission, but the result was somewhat unexpected. To be honest, I really want to compete with those monsters. I don't know if I can beat them. Zoro said with a little anticipation. Technology. There is unknown technology in that world, and I'm very interested. Frankie put on his signature walk, and even if he was wearing sunglasses, he could still see his starry eyes. After hearing what these two people said, Nami felt a vein pop out on her forehead. Bang, bang, bang. The next second, the heads of these three people were smashed out, and they were lying heavily on the ground, unable to stand up for the time being. Now Nami looked very scary like the devil from hell, and others couldn't help but retreat when they saw this. Listen to me. You must not enter this Red Sea world. You want to die. I don't want to die. Yes, Nami has said it to this point, and Luffy, as the captain, can only agree no matter how reluctant he is. Okay, let's put this thing away now. Nami breathed a sigh of relief and started to pick up the disc, but the thing was no longer in Luffy's hand. Hey, where have you gone? Nami shouted in shock. Over there. Chopper pointed in one direction anxiously. I saw that the disc was flying towards a room automatically. That's my room, stop it. Nami shouted quickly, and everyone else showed their special powers to stop the disc from sticking to the mirror. Meanwhile, other worlds. Doraemon world. Shizuka's home. Ah ha ha. Shizuka was taking a bath comfortably. After soaking for an unknown amount of time, she slowly walked out and dressed up in front of the mirror. At this time, Shizuka suddenly discovered that the mirror was quite strange. It did not reflect her own shadow. Instead, she saw a city in ruins. Am I hallucinating? Shizuka rubbed her eyes in confusion, thinking it was her eyesight, but when she looked over again, she could still see the ruins in the mirror. What's going on? The more Shizuka thought about it, the more confused she became. How could everything be like this? Before Shizuka could figure out what was going on, a huge, disgusting and ugly face suddenly appeared in the mirror. It was the Unclean One. The Unclean One stared at Shizuka through this mirror and seemed to have discovered another world. The sudden appearance of the monster frightened Shizuka so much that she couldn't help but scream. Ho ho ho. The monster responded with an astonishing roar, and the terrifying sound waves actually passed through the glass and entered the bathroom opposite. Shizuka was blown away, hit the wall hard, and then fell into the bathtub. Mother! Shizuka endured the pain and quickly stood up and wanted to run out. But when she saw the unclean person's face, her body and mind were occupied by fear, and she couldn't move at all. It's like an unarmed human being facing a ferocious beast. He doesn't have the courage to escape at all. He can only stand there blankly and watch the ferocious beast approaching. Ho ho ho. After the Unclean One let out a low growl, his head came close to the mirror. Boom. He directly smashed all the buildings near it. But this mirror alone cannot be destroyed. Ho ho ho. There seemed to be strong dissatisfaction in the roar of the Unclean One. It clearly saw humans, but was unable to attack them. This feeling made it very unhappy. Then the Unclean One slowly raised his fist, preparing to smash it at the small mirror. Help! When Shizuka saw this scene, she thought she was bound to die, and subconsciously raised her arms to block her face. Shizuka! Just then Nobita's shout came. I didn't know when a pink door appeared in the bathroom. Nobita and Doraemon ran out from behind this door. After seeing the condition of the mirror, Nobita and Doraemon ran over in a hurry and quickly took off the disc on the mirror before the Unclean One's fist came down. At this moment, the mirror instantly returned to its original appearance, and the terrifying Unclean One could no longer be seen. Hoo, finally caught up. Doraemon and Nobita said in relief. Nobita, Dora-chan, what's going on? Shizuka asked quickly after seeing the two of them. This is it. Nobita and Doraemon were about to explain, but when they saw Shizuka's naked body, they were suddenly stunned. Shizuka was stunned at first by the reaction of the two of them, and then she immediately thought of something and looked at her body. Her face instantly turned red. Ah, pervert. Bang 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 bang. Hey hey hey. In this way, Nobita and Doraemon were beaten until they fled back to their homes through any door. Not to mention how miserable they looked. Natasha, what are you two doing? Are you taking advantage of the chaos? Diana, it's really too much to be this kind of person despite being a child. Robin, where's the enemy of women? Nobita, no, I didn't have that idea, it was just an accident. Tony Stark, hey, kid, it's normal for you to be interested in the body of the opposite gender at your age, but you can't go too far. You can wait until you grow up to talk about this kind of thing. Jiraiya, that's right, when you grow up, you can naturally exchange your life-saving grace for women in return. Tsunade, what are you talking about? As soon as Jiraiya said these words, he was punched by Tsunade. Don't mess around, we're flying. This punch almost made Jiraiya unable to control his chakra, causing everyone to almost fall. Then just concentrate on your journey and don't think too much. Tsunade scolded, then immediately looked at the screen. Kakashi and Metkai are already exploring the ruins, and they haven't seen the unclean one yet, so she can relax a little. Nick Fury, Stark, please be careful what you say and don't embarrass our universe. Tony Stark, oh, really, I think that's normal. Diana, you give me the feeling that you are no different from a rich playboy. I really don't understand that a person like you would be in this live broadcast room. Tony Stark, hey, lady, if you were in my universe, you'd know how awesome I am. Diana, I just want to kill you with one sword. Tony Stark, aha. Nobita, don't go too far. I definitely don't have that idea. Nami, oh, really? Natasha, hey, Nami, have you captured that disc? Nami, yes, I spent a lot of effort and ran really fast. One Piece World, on the Thousand Sunny. Nami looked at the disc in Robin's hand. Everyone spent a lot of effort to catch this disc just now. It even took a lot of demolition to get hold of this disc. Ha, I'm exhausted. Luffy lay on the ground with his tongue hanging out. It's just a disc that cost me so much effort. Zoro cursed with an unhappy look on his face. Our practice is not enough. Sanji leaned against the wall and blew out a puff of smoke. It's just a disc, it's better to really enter that world. It's just that what should I do with this thing? If it is loosened, it will go to the mirror and it can't be closed at all. Usopp asked with a worried look on his face. It's very simple, as long as someone is holding it all the time. Come and get it for me, I will keep it safe. Luffy immediately stood up and spoke his mind. You're thinking of sneaking in while we're not paying attention. Don't even think about it. Nami saw Luffy's true thoughts at a glance and slapped him to wake him up. This lens may have to be on the mirror to stop, so we can make a mirror as small as this and attach it to it. After Robin finished speaking, he took out a palm-sized mirror, just enough for the disc to stick on. This causes the mirror to transform into a view from another world. You can just see some unclean people moving around with their huge arms, which looks very impressive. Such a terrifying monster, just looking at it like this is scary. Usopp was so frightened that he couldn't help but step back. Hee, you can just reach in. I wonder if I can hear you if I yell. Luffy came over and said with a smile, then opened his mouth wide and prepared to shout. Don't mess around. As a result, at this moment, all the crew members except Robin rushed forward, held down Luffy, and punched and kicked him. Almost beat him to death. Idiot, no one is allowed to touch this mirror in the safe in my room. Otherwise, it will be thrown into the sea to feed the fish. Nami was now giving orders like an evil spirit, and everyone immediately obeyed. Everyone has seen the situation on this side, and it looks very funny. Nick Fury, is this terrible woman your captain? Zoro, no, she's a navigator, and our captain is this idiot named Luffy. Patton, isn't it? The captain is an idiot. Tony Stark, this is a puppet placed in front to attract attention. Are you manipulating it behind the scenes? Sanji, no, he is the boss. We don't have that kind of ambition. This idiot has caused us a lot of trouble. Strange, why do you let an idiot be your captain? Nami, although he is an idiot, he is very reliable at critical moments and leads us through countless crises. Robin, are you sure he didn't cause some of the crises? Nami, hiss. Nick Fury, what kind of pirate group are you? I've never seen them before. Akainu, Ha, no matter what kind of pirate group they are, it's best to die. Congratulations, Doraemon World and One Piece World have successfully contained the disc leading to the Red Sea World, and rewards will be distributed now. Just then the sound from the screen sounded. Some of Doraemon's props have become permanent and difficult to destroy. Nobita has been given magic courses from the 2nd to 4th years of Hogwarts. As soon as he finished speaking, Nobita, who had not yet stood up, was hit by a pile of books falling from the sky and was submerged in the hill where the magic books were piled up. Nobita, seeing this, Doraemon quickly opened the pile of books and dug out Nobita. It's a magic book again, why can't you just let me learn magic? Nobita had a headache just looking at this pile of books, and couldn't help crying and screaming. Well, maybe I don't want you to get something for nothing. Doraemon analyzed it seriously. Where do I have the time and energy to learn this? Nobita buried his head in his hands, crying. How come people in other worlds can learn it without having to learn it, yet he wants it? It's so unfair. Nobita, don't worry, I can slow down time so you have enough time to study. Doraemon comforted him with a kind smile. He just checked and found that the time-type props have just become permanent. You can use them however you want, which can give Nobita enough time to learn. In this way, he can arrange various plans, supervise Nobita, and train him to become an outstanding adult. When he thought of this, Doraemon felt very happy. Nobita was the only one injured. The world of One Piece, Luffy awakens Nika form, Zoro and Brook get the Zanpakuto, Sanji gets the 8-gate armor, Nami gets the Sky's dragon-slaying magic, Usopp's slingshot is transformed into a railgun firing principle, Chopper obtained alchemy, Robin obtained the heavenly wheel armor, and Frankie obtained the plasma light cannon blueprint. After the sound on the screen ended, the Straw Hat Pirates began to undergo earth-shaking changes. Zanpakuto, Blast Fang, Sauron and Brook looked at the brand new weapons that suddenly appeared in their hands, feeling a little confused. They had never heard of such a weapon, but they could feel the power of Pung Bai hidden in it. This is definitely stronger than the famous sword. Zoro said solemnly. I feel this knife is very dangerous. Brook was unusually serious. Just holding the explosive fang made its body tremble. The Zanpakuto is a weapon from a certain world. It can only be condensed by those with strong souls. It is a weapon specifically aimed at the soul. At this time, the voice of the on-screen explanation sounded. The Zanpakuto awarded to Zoro and Brook were made according to the characteristics of their souls. They have powerful power and can perform Hakaku and Swastikaka. The first explanation is to pronounce the name of the Zanpakuto correctly and release the potential power of the Zanpakuto. The power of the swastika is 5 to 10 times stronger than that of the swastika. It requires a deeper communication with the Zanpakuto and a strong enough strength to realize it. The requirement is to materialize the Zanpakuto and make it surrender. Quote, a weapon made from my soul. Zoro looked at the Zanpakuto in his hand in shock, not expecting such a strange weapon. The name of Zoro's Zanpakuto is Asura, and Brook's is called Apostle Wonkwan. If you want to perform the first interpretation, you must pronounce the name of the Zanpakuto correctly. Asura, he, ha ha ha. Zoro looked at this Zanpakuto and couldn't help but scream in excitement. It suits me. It's just right for me, a swordsman who walks the path of Asura. Let me see your ability. Yo ho ho, this makes me excited. Apostle Huang Quan, what kind of sword will it be? Brook couldn't help laughing excitedly. He felt that he was full of power now. If it wasn't the right time, he really wanted to pull it out and experience it. The 8-gate dungeon is a unique ninjutsu in the Naruto world. It releases the potential in the human body and exerts a power dozens of times beyond one's own. It originally has the side effect of dying together, but the rewards on this screen can eliminate this. Change it to exhaustion, which will not endanger your life. Quote, the dragon-slaying magic of the sky is a magic that specifically fights against dragons in a certain world. It uses the sky as its power to control everything in the sky to attack, fly and fly. The purer the air, the more powerful it is. It is difficult to exert its full power in a dirty environment. Strength. The heavenly wheel armor is an armor with magic that can summon infinite sword blades for close or long-range attacks and has strong defense. Considering that Robin itself has no magic power, it will only consume the magic power attached to the heavenly wheel armor, will be restored automatically. The electromagnetic gun slingshot uses electromagnetism to launch bullets, which can speed the bullets up to thousands of meters per second. Plasma light cannon design drawings, collected materials according to the above drawings, can develop a 1,000,000 Celsius artillery that is as powerful as a small sun. Alchemy uses magic circles to decompose matter or reconstruct it to form a brand new object. It can replace the traditional means of making tools. As long as there are enough materials, you can create what you need, but the things you create must be in harmony with the elements of the materials. Just like iron cannot be made into water. When the sound on the screen sounded, everyone was listening attentively, trying to digest such a huge amount of information. Everyone sees that I can do magic. At this time, Nami's voice sounded, and Nami was actually flying in the air, with a look of surprise on her face. The sky's dragon slaying magic uses the power of the sky to cast magic. It's really suitable for me as a navigator. Nami quickly absorbed the knowledge of dragon slaying magic and easily controlled the wind around her to fly. Miss Nami, you are a magical girl now. Sanji shouted to Nami, shaking his body. Magic, I look very powerful, but I'm a little exposed. Robin said as he looked at himself and the swords floating around under his control. The heavenly wheel armor is not an armor in the traditional sense. It is a very revealing armor that makes Robin's figure look very hot and eye-catching. Ooh, Sanji and Brook on the side watched as nosebleeds spurted out, and then they fell to the ground in exhaustion. Is this high technology? Bravo! Usopp and Frankie basked in their rewards. Usopp's big slingshot has turned into an extremely high-tech electromagnetic gun launcher. According to the information on the screen, it is launched using electromagnetism, which can make any bullet fly thousands of meters per second. Such speed will undoubtedly bring particularly terrifying destructive power. Heating hydrogen gas with a laser to millions of degrees and emitting it has the power of a small solar explosion. This is too scary. Frankie was stunned by the design of the plasma light cannon. Such a terrifying weapon could destroy an island. Even scarier. After looking at such a terrifying weapon, the two gasped heavily, and suddenly their eyes burst into starlight. So cool. This is a manly romance. Usopp and Frankie shouted together, venting the overwhelming excitement in their hearts. Look, I can conjure things out of thin air. At this time, Chopper shouted with joy. Chopper was seen slapping the grass with both hands, and then a magic circle appeared around it, and then a wooden spear appeared out of thin air. Oh oh oh, what is this? Others shouted in shock. This is called alchemy. Converting matter into something is like forging iron into a sword. You don't need to find a swordsmith to spend time making it. You can just clap your hands and create a magic circle. Chopper's eyes are full of stars. With this trick, he can make any medicine. He only needs the raw materials around him and does not need to spend time preparing it. This way you can try many unknown medicines. That's amazing. Is this magic too? Sanji said with admiration on his face. Ah, my body is so hot. Just then Luffy screamed, attracting everyone's attention. I saw white smoke constantly coming out of Luffy's body, and his body temperature was rising crazily. Luffy, what's wrong with you? Chopper shouted anxiously. I don't know, it feels very hot. Luffy lay on the ground quite uncomfortable, unable to control himself. His heartbeat is extremely fast now, and other people can hear it clearly even if they are more than 10 centimeters away. This is so weird. Why would Luffy do this? Nami shouted anxiously. Nika, what the hell is that? Zoro also looked anxious and wanted to help Luffy, but couldn't. Ah, the next second, Luffy suddenly looked up to the sky and howled loudly, scaring everyone back and looking at him nervously. It's so comfortable. Then Luffy suddenly said this, and then his body underwent strange changes. Hoo ho ho. Thick white smoke was emitting from Luffy's body, his body continued to expand, and his hair turned white visibly. As the white smoke coming out became thicker and thicker, Luffy's body seemed to be melting. Hey, Luffy is melting. Chopper shouted in shock, his eyes almost flying out of his head. Everyone was extremely shocked by this and didn't understand what was happening. Luffy, how are you doing now? Nami asked tremblingly. It feels like I can do anything. Luffy shouted, waving his hands with a relaxed look on his face. Then Luffy flew up in full view of everyone, flying freely in the air twice. Everyone's jaws dropped when they saw this scene. Which song is this? But what's even more amazing is yet to come. Luffy grabbed the clouds that stretched out his arms to grasp the sky, and actually pulled them off as if they were solid, then twisted them into a ball of hemp rope, and kept swinging them like a skipping rope, jumping in the air. Just when everyone was confused, the sound from the screen rang. Actually, there is no rubber fruit in the world. The name of the rubber fruit is a pseudonym given by the world government because it was afraid of the fruit's true power reappearing. Its real name is the phantom beast type human fruit, Nika form. Nika is a warrior who rescued slaves hundreds of years ago in the pirate world. He is called the Sun God and will lead the slaves to freedom. Since Nika himself is a rubber man, when he eats the Nika fruit, he will turn into rubber. The ability, when awakened, can turn anything into rubber, and has extremely amazing vitality. Luffy's crew were stunned when they heard the explanation on the screen. Nika fruit. This is the first time they have heard of this devil fruit. Nika, the real name of the rubber fruit. This is too ridiculous. Sanji couldn't digest this information for a while. The idiot captain of my family can actually be related to some kind of sun god. The contrast is too great. Luffy is so awesome. Chopper was a big-hearted person, with a look of admiration on his face. But why did the world government go out of its way to conceal the name of this fruit? What terrible power does it have? Usopp looked confused. Hundreds of years ago, could it be related to the blank history? Robin was keenly aware of this connection and had to think more. Hey, Luffy, what's your situation now? How are you feeling? Zoro shouted to the sky. Feels so good. When Luffy was talking, his eyes actually flew out, just like the special effects of the characters in the children's bucket. And I have also awakened other powers. I can hear many people's voices and know your movements. Luffy was lying in the sky with a contented look on his face, obviously not looking, but he could feel every move of his friends. Then his arms turned black, and he couldn't help but punch the sky, making a huge noise. The last black thunder and lightning wrapped around his body, and the overlord-colored domineering energy burst out and swept around. Because of the awakening of Nika, Luffy actually awakened the three-color Haki. Look, I can do this now. After Luffy finished speaking, he grabbed the Thousand Sunny, and then pulled it with both hands. The Thousand Sunny let him pull it like plasticine, turning into a very funny look. Hey, stop messing with the boat. Frankie shouted anxiously when he saw this. Sorry. People in other worlds can clearly see what Luffy looks like now. Among them, the one with the ugliest expression belongs to the Navy headquarters. Hey, Marshall, what's going on? What the hell is Nika? This kid has become stronger again. Akainu shouted to Sengoku with an ugly face, why the Navy never knew about this kind of thing. I don't know about this either. Sengoku's eyes kept trembling. He didn't expect the rubber fruit to have such an origin. It seemed that the world government had even concealed it from him. Follow the notice, the bounty of the Straw Hats has been increased. They are becoming stronger and stronger. They can no longer be underestimated and must be dealt with as soon as possible. Sengoku was breathing heavily when he spoke. He has already felt that the development of the Straw Hat Pirates has completely exceeded his expectations. Maybe they will become the same as the Yonko in the future, which will be even more troublesome. Can you find out where the Straw Hats are now based on the location displayed on the screen? Sengoku looked at the screen and shouted. It's all invisible to the sea, but if they want to go to the New World, they have to pass through the Shampoo Islands. Kizaru made an important point. Then go to the Shampoo Islands to ambush. Don't give them room to grow, so catch them as soon as possible. Warring States quickly issued orders. What should we do with Garp? Akainu asked what Garp might do to arrest Luffy on such a large scale. I will persuade that guy and ask Kuzan to go with him later. His power will be effective. After Sengoku finished speaking, he began to make relevant arrangements to capture the Straw Hat Pirates as soon as possible. At this point people from other worlds are commenting. Diana, Sun God. Our Sun God is called Apollo. Nika is unique to the pirate world, right? Strange. No matter what, this ability is too strange. Rather than saying it's powerful, it's more funny and has a cartoonish feel. Nick Fury. It turns everything it touches into rubber. Is devil fruit so powerful? Shizune. However, the 8 gates of Dungia can actually become a reward. It is a very incredible secret skill. Every time you open one gate, there is a heavy burden. It is said that if you open all 8 gates, even if your strength increases a lot, you will definitely die. Sanji, is it so scary? It seems I have to be careful with it. Tony Stark, I am more interested in alchemy. As long as the elements are the same and the materials are enough, anything can be synthesized. In this way, we can invent unprecedented things and skip the troublesome experimental steps. This is the gospel of technology. Chopper, is it so powerful? I'm still thinking of using it to refine medicine. Tony Stark, haha, it's good to use it to make medicine, but it's more interesting to use it to make armor. Just imagine that as long as you have various materials, you can make high-tech armor that is difficult to create with real-world technology. Frankie, yeah, it just so happens that my plasma light cannon design is very troublesome. With Chopper's alchemy, maybe I can make it quickly. Tony Stark, please describe that design in detail. I also want to develop it. Tony Stark looked at the screen of Pirate World a little jealously. The plasma light cannon is an epic-making weapon. Its power is more terrifying than a nuclear bomb. Its armor is just a laser. If it is equipped with a plasma light cannon, there is no need to be afraid of any enemy it encounters. Why don't I have a chance to accommodate these things? Then I can get good things. Tony Stark is quite jealous now. There are a lot of high technologies across the screen that he can't get, which makes him feel particularly itchy. In comparison, the new elements developed by his father were a bit shabby. Wong, I'm more concerned about dragon-slaying magic, magic specifically targeting dragons. That's interesting. Thor, do you need special magic to deal with dragons? Just fight them directly. Odin, Thor, you can finally see the screen now. Thor, well, I just got rid of a group of ice giants, so I'm a little empty. Odin, you idiot, who asked you to go there and cause trouble? Thor, father, if they send people to invade and attack, they must pay the price. I won't tell you any more, I saw an enemy. Odin, Thor, you fool. Odin looked at the screen with a livid face. No matter how he spoke, Thor just didn't reply, which made him feel very bad. Sir, we have sorted it out. Heimdall came over and said that there were already many Asgardian soldiers ready to fight at any time. Sir, if the army passes by like this, it may be misunderstood that a war is about to begin. Frigga said worriedly, there's nothing we can do. As long as that thing doesn't come out, we won't do anything. After Odin finished speaking, he waved his hand and led the Asgardian warriors to the Rainbow Bridge. People in other worlds looked at the father-son dialogue between Odin and Thor, who had a bad relationship, and didn't know what to say. It would be better to stay less involved in other people's family affairs. In Leo World, something extraordinary is happening in the sports center. That's how all the mirrors in the club reflect the world of the Red Sea. Oyama Shoji immediately took everyone out of the club to avoid getting into any trouble. Then the MAC team's plane fell from the sky, and Zhu Xingtuan, Feng Yuan and other team members dared to come. Captain Morohoshi, you have to solve this problem. Suddenly the mirror changed into something else, and you also saw a big monster passing by. How can we teach this? Oyama Shoji said anxiously. Don't worry, we will take care of it. Zhu Hoshiden immediately comforted him, and then led the team members into the sports club. As soon as they entered, they saw the face of a huge monster looking at them through the mirror. Ah, the team members were frightened and subconsciously escaped from the pistol. Wait, don't shoot. Seeing this, the stars quickly stopped them. Ah, however, even without shooting, the unclean ones noticed them and roared in anger. I don't know what this anger means, maybe it comes from the hatred for human beings in my heart. The unclean one raised his huge fist and stretched his fingers toward the world on the other side of the mirror. Its thick fingers could just pass through the mirror, but it made the whole building tremble. As a result, cracks kept appearing in the surrounding walls, and it looked like they might collapse at any time. Quickly retreat. Zhu Xingtuan immediately ordered all team members to leave here. When Zhu Hoshiden was about to leave, his balance was not very good due to the use of a cane. The violent shaking around him caused him to lose his balance and fall to the ground. If he misses the best time to escape, the unclean one's huge fingers are about to touch him. Team leader. When Feng Yuan saw that the captain was about to be caught, he immediately went over and threw the stars out with all his strength. In the end, he missed the best opportunity to escape and was caught by the unclean person's fingers. Hoo ho ho. After the unclean one felt that he had grabbed something, he immediately stopped his hand and instantly pulled Feng Yuan into the world of the Red Sea. Feng Yuan. When other team members saw Feng Yuan being caught in the mirror world, they all went to save people. Boom. But at this time, the sports club could no longer stand the noise of the unclean people, and it began to collapse continuously, and it could no longer go inside. Leave here immediately, Captain. It's Feng Yuan. He'll be fine. Zhu Xingtuan quickly pushed people away from here, praying in his heart that Feng Yuan was safe. At this time, Feng Yuan has been pulled into the Red Sea world. The unclean man flicked his arm hard, threw Feng Yuan into the air, then opened his mouth, preparing to catch Feng Yuan and eat it. Leo. At this critical moment, Feng Yuan immediately raised his right hand to reveal the lion pupil ring, transforming into Ultraman Leo. As soon as Leo appeared, he directly kicked the unclean person in the head with a flying kick, knocking the unclean person to the ground. Although the unclean one is much taller than Leo, it is still difficult to resist Leo's great strength. After Leo landed, he took a fighting stance and looked at the unclean one lying on the ground. Then he jumped up again and used his strongest stunt, Leo flying kick. Leo gathered all his power and emitted red light and kicked hard on the chest of the unclean one who had just stood up, directly blasting its body into countless pieces and flying around. Snort. Leo immediately took up his stance when he saw an unclean one was defeated. Whirring. Just then there was a violent roar all around. I saw more than a dozen unclean figures approaching Leo at an extraordinary speed. So fast. Leo couldn't help but be shocked when he saw such an astonishing speed, and then immediately flew into the air to avoid the encirclement and suppression of this group of unclean people. However, this group of unclean people were not energy-saving lamps. When they saw Leo flying into the air, they all jumped up with their arms and suddenly jumped very close to Leo, about to pursue them. Boo! Seeing this, Leo quickly fired a powerful laser, knocking down the group of unclean ones. A group of unclean ones about 100 meters tall fell to the ground, causing a movement comparable to a major earthquake, causing the surrounding buildings to collapse. This made Leo panic. If the entrance to the Red Sea world was destroyed because of this, he would be in big trouble. Fortunately, even though the mirror was cracked, you could still see the world on the other side. Just when Leo was about to fly over, the group of unclean ones stood up again. The holes that were previously drilled by lasers are now rapidly recovering, and they don't seem to be consuming any more. I have to crush them completely. Leo clenched his fists when he saw this. The glass was under these unclean people. If you don't kill them first, there is no way to leave here. Boom. At this time, there were many heavy footsteps, and I saw many afterimages rushing over from all around, and more unclean people were approaching here. Quick victory. Leo thought of this and immediately adjusted his condition. Kaio Fist. The next second Leo roared loudly and used his new unique skill Kaio Fist. Incomparably powerful power surged out of his body, causing the muscles throughout his body to swell. Let me try it on you, how powerful I am under the Kaio's fist. Triple Kaio Fist. Leo roared, and the energy he controlled tripled, causing his muscles to expand a little more. With the blessing of the Triple Kaio Fist, Leo's current strength is 3 times that of the past. Feeling the surging power in his body, Leo feels very relaxed. He can increase his strength so easily, and he will encounter any powerful enemies in the future. Can fight. Of course, he would not fall for the benefits of Kaio Fist. 3 times is not a big burden to me. After Leo analyzed it, he looked at the unclean one who was jumping up, and teleported away. When Leo appeared, he was already standing on the ground. As soon as Leo appeared, he punched and kicked the unclean ones next to him who had not yet reacted as quickly as possible, knocking them all away. The power of Leo's fists and kicks under the Triple Kaio Fist is very terrifying. Just punching with all his strength can make the unclean person's body explode. If this were the magma people, they would have been killed long ago. It's just that the vitality of this group of unclean ones is very terrifying. If they are not completely crushed, they will continue to resurrect and stand up. Leo did not pursue, but immediately picked up the glass fragments connecting his world. Ho 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 ho. At this time, More and more unclean ones are rushing over, twisting their ferocious faces, trying to attack Leo. Upon seeing this, Leo immediately flew to a higher position to avoid the pursuit of this group of unclean people. I thought I could take a breather in the air, but this group of unclean people actually changed their strategy this time. They jumped up one by one, and then used their companions as pedals to jump to a higher position, constantly getting closer to Leo. Aha! Seeing this, Leo immediately focused his energy on the timer, bursting out a violent light to sweep the approaching unclean ones. This move, Timer Light, is a very basic move in Ultraman. It only does partial damage to monsters. However, with the blessing of the triple Kaioken, this simple light directly penetrated most of the bodies of the unclean ones and knocked them back to the ground. Leo then used the reaction force of the timer's light to fly higher, trying to distance himself from these creatures as quickly as possible. At this time, the number of unclean ones piled up on the ground has become more and more unknown. At a rough calculation, there are more than 50 of them. So many people came here at once. The population of the Earth is about 7 billion. What if they all turned into monsters like this? Leo couldn't help but tremble when he thought of this. Fortunately, they didn't have the ability to enter the universe. Otherwise, with such a huge monster army, all living planets in the universe would be destroyed. You were once humans, sorry. If I were in this world, I might be able to help you. The only thing I can do now is to free you. After Leo finished speaking, his breath began to change, and then the energy in his body suddenly and continuously increased, bursting out with a strong red light that enveloped him like a flame. 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, that's not my limit yet, 10 times in one breath. 10 times Kaio Fist. Leo directly increased Kaio Fist to 10 times in one breath. The energy was instantly terrifying to the extreme. The surrounding atmosphere was shaking crazily because of his energy that was constantly erupting like a volcanic eruption. The unclean ones who were about to attack Leo frantically froze in place after feeling Leo's terrifying energy. The eyes on their ugly faces seemed to show fear. As 10 times the limit. My body feels so heavy. Regarding Leo's own body, he now felt particularly heavy and tired, as if his body was exhausted after a special training session. It seems that 10 times is my limit, so I must fight quickly. After Leo finished speaking, he did a somersault in the air, and then concentrated all his strength on his feet. He wants to concentrate 10 times the power of the Kaio Fist into one body and use a Leo flying kick that is 10 times more powerful. Hey ah ah ah! At this moment, Leo turned into a huge red comet and fell towards the ground at an astonishing speed. When he landed, a dazzling red light spread all around, followed by an earth-shattering explosion. The terrifying mushroom cloud rose from the ground and spread wildly. The surrounding ground was constantly shaking and splitting, and everything seen by the naked eye was constantly collapsing. If someone looked at the Earth from the universe, they would see that the entire Earth is trembling. The unclean ones in the center couldn't resist Leo's flying kick, which was 10 times more powerful, and they were all crushed into pieces. Although the unclean ones on the periphery were not hit directly by Leo's flying kick, they were crushed by the aftermath. Only those on the periphery could save their lives. When all the dust fell to the ground, you could see that a large area of the Earth had collapsed, with bottomless cracks everywhere, and it was completely impossible to see what it looked like before. Leo squatted on the ground tiredly, the timer on his chest flashing continuously. He now felt that his body was hollowed out, and he could hardly even stand. A little too much. Leo panted and complained to himself, but there was a hint of joy in his tone. This power was too powerful, enough to make him fearless of any invaders. Leo then used the last of his energy to shrink himself, fly into the glass shards, and return to his own world. And the astonishing power caused by Leo made people in other worlds stunned and unbelievable. Piccolo, what a terrifying power this is. Is this the power of Kaio Fist? Diana, it's so terrible, it's enough to destroy the world. Diana and Piccolo now looked ugly and in bad moods. They all thought that they were very powerful, but when they saw Leo's feats, their confidence was instantly shattered. If they were to face Leo's terrifying attack, they would end up with no bones left. It's just that these two people are strong men with high self-esteem. Seeing Leo acting so strong, they didn't get depressed, but felt that there was still room for breakthrough. Marvel Karma Taj. The magic apprentices were stunned by the feat Leo had done. Master Ji Yi, if it were you, would you be able to resist this move? Modu asked with an ugly expression. There are ways to resist, but it means paying a lot of price. Ji Yi sighed heavily. If she wanted to deal with Leo's flying kick, she would have to borrow more power from the demon god, but the consequences would be serious. Fortunately, it protects the earth. If it were an enemy, it would be troublesome. If it were in our world, it could become an ally. Ji Yi couldn't help but think that with a being as powerful as Leo, he could help a lot in this world. Bruce Wayne. Mr. Star Clusters, I would like to ask, can the Gunteras you got be able to fight against Leo? Zhu Xingtuan. If it is so powerful, I'm afraid it won't work. What's wrong? Chapter 71. Bruce Wayne. Then you have to be prepared. Although Leo is your team member, there will be trouble if he does something detrimental to the Earth. Nobita. Uncle, why do you say that? Leo is a hero, how can he do harm to the Earth? Bruce Wayne. Kid, you are still young, people will change. Even if Leo will not become a villain, what if he is brainwashed and controlled by the evil space people, or he cannot control his power and cause destruction? Woolen cloth. Nobita. This, Warring states. I have to say that Bruce Wayne's concerns are very correct. People's hearts cannot be controlled, let alone Piccolo. Not to mention not being from Earth, right? It does fit in with what you humans think. Bruce Wayne. Whatever you say, I just think that powerful forces need to be controlled. Bruce Wayne believes that there is nothing wrong with him. He has seen too many examples of good people turning into bad people. How many people besides him can unswervingly maintain their beliefs in an environment like Gotham? Therefore, whether it is an Earthling or an alien, as long as the power is too strong, it must be restrained and the plan to become an enemy must be planned. Therefore, in Bruce Wayne's eyes, it would be best if Leo and the star clusters could form mutual constraints. And those people from the Dragon Ball universe. But since it's not from the same universe, it's useless for him to worry so much. The top priority now is to deal with the Red Sea disc on his side. At this time Leo universe. Zhu Hoshiden looked at Bruce Wayne's speech seriously. Indeed, some aliens have the ability to control other people's thoughts. It seems that they should be given targeted training. The stars murmured to themselves thoughtfully. Team leader. Just when Zhu Xingtuan was thinking, Feng Yuan's voice came. Feng Yuan was seen crawling out of the stone, looking exhausted, but he still smiled and shook the Red Sea disc in his hand. Feng Yuan. Seeing that Feng Yuan was safe, the team members went over to dig him out. The Red Sea disc in Leo world was successfully contained, and Feng Yuan was rewarded with unlimited energy. Ultraman's energy is limited, especially when the Earth is active. The time is greatly shortened to 3 minutes, and this screen can make Ultraman Leo's energy unlimited and inexhaustible, but it is too large. It will still put a strain on the body. When the sound ended, Feng Yuan's lion pupil ring flashed, and he looked at the ring in confusion. He actually got unlimited energy. This is extremely good news. Unlike other Ultraman, Leo didn't even have 3 minutes of activity time. Now that he has unlimited energy, there is no limit to his activity time and he can fight for as long as he wants. Feng Yuan couldn't help laughing happily when she thought of this. Feng Yuan, are you stupid? How can you still laugh after being hit all over? The teammates were quite puzzled when they saw Feng Yuan like this. No, nothing happened. Feng Yuan immediately shook his head, but still couldn't help but giggle. Seeing this, the stars nearby shook their heads helplessly. Just then a message from Sun Wukong popped up on the screen. Sun Wukong. That person named Feng Yuan, I felt a very huge power just now. It was you who did it. You can actually perform the Kaio fist 10 times. I can only do it twice. It seems that I can still do it twice. You need to practice more. Piccolo. Goku, what are you doing, are you fighting? Sun Wukong. Yes, I am fighting the unclean ones. These monsters can be said to be very suitable opponents for practicing. Tony Stark. What, practicing? Sun Wukong. Yes, Piccolo and the others are stronger than me now. Even if I return to Earth, I can only be a burden. I must become stronger as soon as possible. Piccolo. It's really not like your style to say that you are a burden, but judging from the current situation, I'm afraid it is true. Just practice hard and let me destroy the Saiyans. Sun Wukong. Dad, you must work hard. Nick Fury. This is too risky, what if something goes wrong? Sun Wukong. Don't worry. It's no problem, I won't tell you anymore. At this time, Sun Wukong is fighting the unclean ones in the Red Sea world. As soon as he arrived at Snake Girl's castle, he saw the unclean man's fingers sticking out of the mirror and grabbing Snake Girl into it. Fortunately, he arrived in time to save Snake Girl. Although people wanted to eat him before, the big-hearted Sun Wukong didn't care about this. Twice the Kame-style Qigong of Kaioken. At this time, Sun Wukong entered the double Kaio fist state and used the turtle-style Qigong to penetrate the brains of the two unclean ones. As a result, the next second, an unclean person jumped from the other side and knocked him to the ground. Oh my, it's hard to deal with so many. Sun Wukong stood up with wounds all over his body and helplessly looked at more and more unclean people around him. Just now he said that practicing Qigong sounds so good, but in fact he is being beaten very badly now. After all, there are too many unclean people, and each one of them is not under his normal self. If I can do it 10 times as well as Leo, then let's challenge it 3 times. Son Goku gets ready to use triple Kaioken. No, Wukong, that's too forced. At this time, the voice of King Kai appeared in Sun Wukong's mind. Sun Wukong was temporarily distracted, so he could only avoid the unclean people and talk to the king at the same time. Although I don't know how this monster appeared, it seems like it can't live in our world. You should come back now. Kaio shouted anxiously. Kaio-sama, I also know this, but I must become stronger now, otherwise it will be terrible if I encounter more troublesome enemies in the future. After Sun Wukong finished speaking, he looked at the unclean people approaching around him, immediately closed his eyes and raised his hands. Sun Fist. The dazzling sunlight burst out, causing all the unclean ones to feel their eyes sting and close their eyes. Sun Wukong took this opportunity to fly up. But you will die if you act too recklessly. Dragon Ball has already resurrected you once, and it cannot resurrect you a second time. Kaio reminds you of the most important question. If Sun Wukong dies here, he will really die, and he will be in another world. Whether his soul can survive or not is a problem. Don't worry, I won't die. I'm very excited now. Sun Wukong is now very motivated to fight. He has no intention of backing down even in the face of so many unclean people. The fighting blood of the Saiyans is boiling. Quadruple the Kaio fist. Sun Wukong directly challenged the quadruple Kaioen. Leo's tenfold Kaioen stimulated him, and he must become stronger. Quadruple Kaiju's turtle-style Qigong wave. Sun Wukong concentrated all his strength in his hands and erupted blue light waves, sweeping the unclean ones around him and vaporizing most of their bodies. Most of the body was destroyed, and these unclean people were unable to recover themselves. The remaining bodies were scattered on the ground. However, this was not enough. There were still many unclean people. After killing one group, the next group came up and attacked Sun Wukong crazily. Oops, you used up your strength too early. Sun Wukong quickly flew to a higher place, keeping as far away as possible. He was a little anxious and had consumed so much energy in advance. Forget it, there's no point in thinking so much, just leave alive anyway. After Sun Wukong thought of this, he changed his strategy and rushed towards the Impure One, attacking first. Seeing Sun Wukong's fierce battle, some strong men couldn't help but stare, wanting to learn something. Of course, some people think this is stupid. The Marvel Universe, Shield. You actually said you want to practice. Please, this is not a joke. Nick Fury couldn't help but roll his eyes. If he were to do this, he would never allow this kind of thing. He should keep the lens immediately after taking it off, instead of entering the Red Sea world to fight. Why do you care so much? It's not from our world anyway. Tony Stark said disdainfully, and then looked at the brand new energy arc on his chest. After some hard work, he finally cracked the legacy left by his father and found a new element to replace palladium. This element is really amazing. Not only is it incredibly powerful, it also cured his palladium poisoning. This made Tony Stark, who claimed to be a genius, couldn't help but admire his father. But there is something that Sun Wukong said just now that really concerns me. Tony Stark suddenly said this. He felt Leo's energy. Did he feel it through the screen? Or When he thought of this, Tanista couldn't help but widen his eyes and thought of something very crazy. DC Universe, a department store in Gotham City. Bang 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 bang. A huge rotten hand appeared almost out of thin air on the floors of this shopping mall. It simply stretched out and destroyed countless things. Everything it touched would be crushed into pieces. The good wall was directly smashed into a big hole. Fortunately it was late at night, otherwise it would have caused a huge stir. Help, monster. The robber was so frightened that he ran away quickly, but with just a flick of his hand, he crushed them to the ground and rubbed them into pulp. Then the hand retracted and grabbed the meat paste in his hand. Looking along the arm, it turned out to be sticking out of a mirror that covered the entire wall. In other words, the owner of this arm is the arm of the unclean one. It notices the Arkham Asylum patients being robbed and eliminates them. Ooh, the unclean one stared blankly at the world outside this huge mirror. The strange world made it very curious and a little nostalgic. Then it saw its head trying to squeeze into this world. This caused cracks to appear on the wall around the mirror. In the mirror world, Bruce Wayne looked at the monster with an ugly expression. Why was that disc moved there? Those crazy people must have taken it down and pasted it there somehow. Bruce Wayne cursed angrily. Those lunatics will really cause trouble for themselves. Ooh. At this time, the unclean one's head stretched out from the Red Sea world, and then his arms were stretched out from the side. It's so good that this mirror covers a wall dozens of meters long, which means it's enough for an unclean person to crawl out. No, Bruce Wayne can't let this happen, let such a terrifying monster crawl into his world, so what the hell? The final arrival. So he immediately jumped out of the mirror world and used final arrival. The dark-winged bat turned into a cloak and wrapped around Ichi's body, turned into a black drill, and pierced the unclean one's head. After the flying slash filled with huge power hit the unclean one, it forcefully forced the unclean person's head back. Ho ho ho. However, this doesn't have much effect at all. The power of the Knight Rider is too small compared to the power of the unclean one. It can only shake it, but it cannot do any real damage. Ho ho ho. The unclean one shook his head hard and knocked Ichi back. Beep. The dark-winged bat was so shaken that it got rid of Bruce Wayne and hit the other side. Bruce Wayne, on the other hand, almost fell out of the hole made by the unholy one. This is too powerful. Bruce Wayne stood up with difficulty and looked at the tall and terrifying unclean one in front of him. The unclean one stared at Bruce Wayne and kept roaring, with terrifying murderous intent exuding from his twisted facial features. Then it sped up its movements to crawl out. At the same time, several unclean ones emerged from both sides, trying to crawl out of this spacious mirror. Try this trick. Bruce Wayne took out 3 survival cards, which were the rewards he got for defeating the Sound Beast. They were further strengthened by Knight Rider, and 3 cards could be stacked and swiped. Let me try it. The power of the survival card and my will to survive are so strong. For the sake of humanity, I must not let these monsters in. Bruce Wayne is so determined that he will never back down even when facing terrible monsters. Whoosh whoosh. The whirlwind image on the Gale survival card began to rotate continuously, and a fierce wind blew around. The long sword card summoner was echoed and turned blue. The card summoner, which was like a shield but with a sword, was pinned on Knight Rider's right arm. Then Bruce Wayne inserted the Gale survival card into the brand new card summoner. Survive, Shippu. Knight Rider was wrapped in the Gale. When the gale dissipated, Knight Rider's armor turned blue, and the dark-winged bat next to him turned into a dark invader with gale wings covered with blue mecha. This is not over yet. The fiery survival card continued to be inserted into the card summoner. Survive, fire. The next second, extremely fierce flames burst out from all around and wrapped around the Knight Rider's armor. When the flames dissipated, flame patterns appeared on the Knight Rider's blue armor. It was like a swimming dragon. At the same time, the wings of the Dark Invader's left mecha instantly turned red and burned with flames, forming a contrast with the blue wings on the right that released the wind. The next survival card, Infinity, was also inserted into the card summoning machine. Survive, Mugen. The last survival card effect was activated, which not only further enhanced the power, but also allowed the survival form to be maintained permanently. I saw that Ichi's summoning machine turned golden yellow, and the cloak behind him was dyed as if it were made of gold. His whole person's temperament was like that of a true king. The Dark Invader also changed further. In addition to its wings, the middle body turned golden. The whole body is constantly entangled with three completely different energies: golden light, flames and wind. From a distance, it doesn't look like a bat, but a bit like a phoenix. So strong. Is this the power of 3 survival cards? Bruce Wayne was quite surprised by his own enhancement. Then he looked at the several unclean ones in front of him who were trying to climb in. You are not welcome in this world. After Bruce Wayne roared, he took out the final card. Finally comes. I saw the body of the dark intruder changed and reorganized, turning into a huge and handsome motorcycle. Then Bruce Wayne jumped up and rode the motorcycle as if he had a telepathic connection. A golden cloak appeared around the motorcycle, wrapping the entire vehicle. Then the power of whirlwinds and flames swirled around, rushing towards the group of unclean people like drills. The dark invader who turned into a motorcycle moved at an astonishing speed, far exceeding the speed of sound many times. It can be said that it disappeared the moment it was activated. Bang 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 bang. The next second, the heads and arms of the unclean ones that were sticking their heads out suddenly exploded. The force of the explosion caused their remaining bodies to fall backwards. Then the motorcycle transformed by the dark intruder reappeared, its surface covered with blood. Crack, click, then the motorcycle changed into the state of a bat. If you look closely, the bat's head seems to be feasting on something. Then there was some grumbling sound. Isn't the unclean person's meat hard to eat? After all, it is a mutated monster, so bear with it. Bruce Wayne said indifferently. No matter what, it temporarily appeased the protesting stomach of the dark-winged bat, which could temporarily interrupt its desire to eat people. Now, Bruce Wayne looked at the Red Sea disc hanging in the corner of the mirror and immediately ran over to take it off. But just when he was about to touch the Red Sea disc, a big unclean hand stretched out from the side. Bruce Wayne was about to react. The big hand slammed down, pressing Bruce Wayne to the ground, and then grabbed him tightly. Ooh, now Bruce Wayne feels extremely painful, and his body seems to be constantly breaking apart, if it were not for the protection of the triple survival enhanced Knight Rider armor. The unclean one's grasp is enough to turn him into a pulp. Bruce Wayne endured the pain and looked at the world of the Red Sea, and saw that a bunch of unclean people had gathered around him at some point. You're so careless. I was blocked by those few and didn't see the ones behind me. Only then did Bruce Wayne realize his recklessness and stupidity, and had to regret it. If he had paid more attention, he wouldn't have been tricked. Now I'm fine. I'm so tightly held that I can't escape. Beep. At this time, the Dark Invader immediately flew over to rescue Bruce Wayne. Boom. But the next second, another unclean person's big hand stretched out, and punched the Dark Intruder away, smashing through the wall. He didn't know where he could stop before he could fly. I saw that all the contracted beasts were blown away, and there was no rescue. No matter how calm Bruce Wayne was, he couldn't help but panic at this moment. I should have told Alfred to prepare the fighter plane and wait outside. Bruce Wayne thought with a slight regret that he was so anxious that he forgot his past habit of keeping a hand. Sure enough, if he made a mistake, he would pay the price with his life now. The unholy one slowly withdrew his hand to throw Bruce Wayne into his mouth. He struggled hard and tried his best to get rid of it, but it was all in vain. The power of the unclean one was really too great. Is it over like this? Didn't that person named Diana say she was coming to support? It's better not to come, lest she die here too. I just don't know what to do next. Bruce Wayne couldn't help but want to accept the truth and face his own death calmly. Don't speak ill of others when you die. Just then a strange female voice came. Boom. The next second, the ceiling suddenly shattered and a figure fell from the sky. The visitor is none other than Wonder Woman Diana. Wearing her unique armor, her heroic demeanor is clearly revealed. Then Diana burst out with astonishing speed, disappeared into an afterimage, and instantly came to Bruce Wayne's side. She wielded the sword of Vulcan and directly cut off the unclean man's wrist like cutting tofu, saving Bruce Wayne. Are you Diana? Bruce Wayne asked, looking at Diana in shock. Now is not the time to ask such things. After Diana finished speaking, she looked at the group of unclean people next to her who were eager to make some move. Ha! Diana struck the silver bracelets on her hands hard, and dazzling light and shock waves erupted. Directly and forcefully, all these unclean people were knocked backwards. After doing this, Diana immediately took off the disc attached to the mirror, and the door to the Red Sea world was completely closed. Hoo ho ho. Seeing the unclean ones and that world disappear, Bruce Wayne let out a heavy breath. Are you okay? Diana came over and held out her hand to Bruce Wayne. Thank you. Bruce Wayne grabbed Diana's hand and stood up, feeling like his whole body was falling apart now. It's a very handsome armor, but you haven't fully mastered it yet. Please train yourself, Diana said with a bad smile and shook the disc in her hand. Leave this thing to me for safekeeping. The monster inside is too dangerous. Diana will leave here after finishing speaking. Wait a moment. At this time, Bruce Wayne quickly grabbed Diana's shoulders and refused to let her go. Diana immediately pressed down, then instantly grabbed Bruce Wayne's arm, threw him to the ground, and locked him in turn. Hey little boy, do you think I'm going to do this to you? Diana said, slightly unhappy. You misunderstood me. Bruce Wayne had to be shocked. He thought he was very powerful now, but he couldn't last around in Diana's hands. Who is this woman? Who are you? Human beings can't be as powerful as you. Bruce Wayne yelled out the question that was most important to him. I am indeed not a human being, but I have to tell you that humans in this world are not as simple as you see. People with superpowers do exist. After Diana finished speaking, she let go of Bruce Wayne and strode away from here. What about you? Who are you? I still have many questions to ask you. Bruce Wayne doesn't want Diana to leave. This woman has too many secrets. If he doesn't figure it out, he might not be able to sleep peacefully. I'm sorry I don't have time for you, a billionaire. The only thing I can tell you is that some people call me Wonder Woman. After leaving these words, Diana jumped out of the mall, quickly jumping up and down each rooftop, and disappeared from Bruce Wayne's sight in the blink of an eye. What a scary woman. Are there still superpowers in our universe? Bruce Wayne couldn't help but gasp. If this was really the case, he would have too many things to do. Dee beep beep. At this time, the sound of sirens came, and many police officers were already outside. After all, making such a big noise here would definitely attract the police. Bruce Wayne had no choice but to leave here and not forget to find the Darkwing Bat. Hey, Darkwing Bat, how are you? Bruce Wayne ran to where the Darkwing Bat was knocked away and shouted. Beep. Then the voice of the Darkwing Bat came, and it slowly flew up from below. It's okay. As soon as Bruce Wayne finished speaking, he suddenly noticed something, that is, the body of the Darkwing Bat seemed to have expanded twice more than before, and it was even taller. Is it because he ate the flesh of an unclean person? Bruce Wayne still remembers that when he was dealing with those unclean ones, the Darkwing Bat took the opportunity to eat a lot of meat from the unclean ones. Could it be that the meat caused the Darkwing Bat to mutate? It's a pity that now is not the time for investigation. Fortunately, Darkwing Bat still has reason and quickly enters the mirror world with Bruce Wayne and leaves here. Congratulations to Diana for successfully containing the Red Sea World's disc and receiving the Sword of Victory Oath as a reward. A voice sounded on the screen, and then a long sword appeared out of thin air in Diana's hand. What a sword! Diana was a weapons master, so she could tell at a glance that this sword was good, and she had to show surprise. The Sword of Victory Oath is not made by everyone, but a holy sword created using the power of the planet and everyone's faith. It follows the legendary King Arthur to defeat countless evil creatures and protect the people. This sword can convert the user's power into the power of light, and can perform various light magics. Simply emitting a beam of light can also have astonishing power. After listening to the explanation on the screen, Diana became even more curious about this sword. Of course she had heard of the legendary King Arthur, but it was completely inconsistent with the origin of this sword. She is no stranger to using faith to create weapons. The gods of Olympus rely on faith to gain power and create weapons by the way. As for the power of the planet, she didn't understand it. This is simply a weapon of the gods. I don't know what kind of power it contains. Diana was quite curious when looking at the Sword of Victory Oath, and couldn't help but wave it casually. With this wave, Diana felt some of her power being drained away. Then the sword blade burst out with a beam of light and shot towards the night sky. At this moment, the sky seemed to be split in half. Even though it was late at night, there was so much noise in Gotham City tonight that it still woke up many people. This strange celestial phenomenon was noticed by many people. What is that? A shooting star. It doesn't look like this. This isn't an alien invasion. It must be the arrival of Gotham. The gods can't stand the crime in Gotham. No way, are we going to be destroyed? The crowd was extremely horrified by this strange situation. After all, they live in crime all the time, and the slightest disturbance tortures their nerves. This strange phenomenon almost destroys the nerves of many people. Now many people are kneeling on the ground and praying to the sky, hoping that they will not be punished or anything. When Diana saw this from the rooftop, she had to look regretful. This was a bit of a big deal. Bruce Wayne. Did you do that just now, Diana? Diana. Sorry, I didn't expect this sword to be so powerful. Bruce Wayne. You're so messy, you're scaring a lot of people. Sanji. Hey, sir, please don't talk to girls like that. No matter what a woman does wrong, a gentleman should face it with magnanimity. Bruce Wayne. Huh, Sanji. What's more, she's a handsome and beautiful woman. If everyone could see Sanji, he was constantly twisting his body, with hearts popping out all over his body, and he looked particularly disgusting. Sanji. I didn't expect Miss Diana to be so beautiful. She's so beautiful. Brooke. Yes, and she's dressed so cute. I really want to see her panties. Jiraiya. There's a beauty. What did I miss? Tsunade. Idiot. Just concentrate on my journey. Diana. It seems that no matter what world you are in, perversion is inevitable. Tony Stark. Hey, don't count me in. Natasha. Are you qualified to say that? A playboy who sleeps with women every day. Tony Stark. That was a normal transaction, not like a pervert. Nami. What's the difference? Disgusting guy. Tony Stark. Let's forget about it and continue to watch the screen. Let's talk about how the Red Sea disk in our world is going. Tony Stark didn't want to dwell on this issue anymore and immediately changed the subject. Switch the screen immediately to see your own world. I saw Thor, God of Thunder, entering the Red Sea world at some point. Ice Giant. Do you think you'll be fine if you escape here? Pay the price for invading Asgard. Thor killed an ice giant with a hammer, then looked around and realized that he had mistakenly entered the Red Sea world in order to chase the ice giant. Where is this? Is there a place like this in Jotunheim? Only then did Thor realize that something was wrong with the environment he was in. It was not an ice field at all, but ruins. Is this a containment object? I looked at the screen and said there was a Red Sea world. Loki looked at the screen and said, they had been fighting before, and only Loki had time to look at the screen to know the situation in the Red Sea world. Is it a world in another dimension? It's interesting. This doesn't seem to be a place where life lives. How about we conquer it and make Asgard a new territory? Opening up territory is what a king should do. Quote. Thor couldn't help but said with a smirk. Ho 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 ho. Just as Thor finished speaking, the roar of the unclean ones suddenly came. The noise made by Thor when he killed the ice giant was quite loud, attracting the attention of the unclean ones nearby. Now there are several unclean ones rushing towards Thor and the others at an alarming speed. Hey, everyone, I think we should get out of here right now. Loki couldn't help but step back when he saw the unclean one charging towards him. Sorry, Asgard will not resist a fight that comes to him. However, Thor was unwilling to leave. He felt that these creatures had a huge murderous intention towards them. In this case, it was even more impossible for him to leave directly. You are very tall very quickly, but I have killed many similar ones. Thor jumped up in a lunge, wielding Thor's hammer with an arc of electric current and smashed it at the nearest unclean one. Boom! This blow directly smashed a big hole in the unclean man's head, causing the huge body to lose control and fall down instantly. It's not difficult. Thor laughed at this. Sure enough, any containment object is nothing in front of his thunder god. Go to hell, disgusting monsters. Your world belongs to me. After Thor finished speaking shamelessly, he turned around and threw Mjolnir. The hammer flew very fast, and in the blink of an eye it hit the heads of two unclean ones one after another. At the same time, Thor jumped towards another unclean one, and when he jumped on its head, Thor's hammer flew back. Then hit it hard and blow up the unclean person's head. At this time, the unclean ones around noticed Thor's actions, and regarded him as the first target to kill, and moved towards him to form a surrounding network. Looking at the dozen unclean ones around him, Thor raised Thor's hammer high and fired a bolt of thunder and lightning into the sky. The next second, the sky was covered with dark clouds, and thunder and lightning kept beating. Aha! Then Thor dropped the hammer with force, and countless thunder and lightning fell from the sky, striking the unclean ones around him. Their bodies exploded to a crackling sound, and countless pieces of meat continued to fall down, abruptly interrupting the movements of the unclean ones. Ha! Thor then jumped up with all his strength and turned at high speed, swinging Mjolnir crazily and knocking down the unclean ones he touched one by one. Ha ha ha! Have you seen the creatures from another world? This is the power of my god of thunder, Thor. Thor looked at the unclean ones who had been knocked to the ground and laughed very proudly. Long live Lord Thor! Volstagg, Sif and Medak, the three warriors of Asgard, all cheered for Thor from the bottom of their hearts. Thor, the god of thunder they worship, is simply synonymous with power, and there is absolutely no chance for them to take action. Loki on the side just applauded symbolically, and looked at Thor with a slightly unhappy look. He was just powerful, so there was nothing good about it. But at this moment, Loki's pupils shrank, and he saw that the injuries of the unclean ones were healing rapidly, and even the bodies that had lost their heads were beginning to grow new heads. Loki originally wanted to remind him, but when he suddenly thought of something, he smiled evilly and simply shut up. I don't have time to occupy this place now. Let's go back and deal with the ice giant first, and then settle this dimension. Thor raised his hands like a winner and walked towards the three warriors of Asgard, intending to return to Jotunheim to deal with the ice giant first. Lord Thor, be careful. At this moment, Sif suddenly shouted anxiously. Before Thor could react after hearing this, the unclean one's huge fist had already fallen and hit Thor. Boom! The power of this punch was so terrifying that it directly created a huge crater in the ground and buried Thor underneath. The unclean one who punched instead grabbed Thor and lifted him up. Ooh, Thor doesn't look as high-spirited as he did just now. Instead, he looks very embarrassed. The armor on his body was cracked and his mouth was bleeding continuously. The only good thing is that he wasn't killed. How can it be? Thor looked at the group of unclean ones in shock. Only then did he realize that all the unclean ones he had defeated stood up, and none of the fatal injuries were visible. Only then did he understand that these monsters had amazing self-healing abilities. Ho 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 ho! The unclean one roared with great fury. The injuries Thor had just caused them were quite painful and uncomfortable. What the hell is that? Ugly monster! Thor wrenched himself free of the unclean one's fingers and swung Mjolnir again to fight back. But at this moment, all the unclean ones punched out at an astonishing speed, hitting Thor at the same time and smashing him into the ground. This was not over yet. The crazy round dancing fists of these unclean people turned into countless afterimages, which continued to fall on Thor like a meteor shower. Boom, boom, boom. The earth was shaking constantly due to the attacks of the unclean ones. Their destructive power was too terrifying. The surrounding ground was constantly cracking due to the aftermath, leaving almost no place to stay. At this moment, the expressions of the three warriors of Asgard and Loki were particularly ugly. They never expected that Thor, who had always been wise, powerful, invincible, would now be suppressed and beaten by a group of monsters. How could they accept this? Let Thor go, monster! Sif was the first to lose control and immediately drew her sword and ran towards the unclean ones. Ah! Volstagg and Medak also hurriedly followed, going to rescue Thor. Whirring. As a result, as they approached, two unclean ones punched them instantly, knocking the three of them away like flies. The three warriors of Immortal Palace, facing the unclean one, punched him with all their strength and speed, but they didn't even have a chance to resist, and were knocked away abruptly. And passed directly through the entrance to the Red Sea world, landing on the snow of Jotunheim. Lord Thor, Sif struggled to stand up, but after her body couldn't help shaking, she vomited out a lot of blood and fell heavily to the ground. Not only her, but the other two people also lost the ability to stand up because of the unclean one's punch. Now only Loki is left in the Red Sea world. He was stunned by the scene in front of him. He originally had a playful mentality to see how powerful the unclean people were, but he didn't expect that it would turn out like this. The unclean ones have stopped attacking now. Thor was beaten into a state of disgrace, his whole body was covered in blood, and he looked like he was not far from dying. This is also because of the strong physique of Asgardians. Otherwise, if it were an Earthling, he would have turned into meat paste in the first round of attacks. Brother, it seems you have to die here. I will miss you. Seeing that the situation was not good, Loki planned to slip away, but when he turned around, he couldn't help but stop. Loki didn't understand why he was suddenly worried about Thor's condition. His subconscious mind told him not to leave like this. He felt very uncomfortable. He didn't like this brother very much in the first place. Why did his body not obey him at this time? Loki, run. At this moment, Thor's weak voice came, and Loki couldn't help but tremble. Thor, who was seriously injured, understood what was going on at this moment. He couldn't continue to fight now. The only thing he could do was to let his brother leave here quickly. Alas, now you owe me. Loki suddenly sighed and turned around. At this time, the group of unclean people were staring at Thor, as if discussing how to distribute it. At this time, Loki waved his hand and released his magical energy. The next second, the unclean people suddenly couldn't see Thor, and the fists that were about to fall had to stop. The unclean people looked around in confusion, but they didn't see Thor, which was undoubtedly very strange. Roar, roar, roar. At this moment, an unclean person suddenly roared and slapped the ground hard. The ground nearby shook violently. Then a green light flashed, and Loki and Thor appeared. It turned out that Loki had just used illusion magic to block the vision of the unclean people, so that they could not see Thor, so that he could have a chance to take Thor away. But this trick was still discovered. Hold on, we will leave here soon. Loki immediately carried Thor and ran towards the entrance in front, wanting to leave this world quickly. Roar, roar, roar. The unclean people roared immediately after seeing Loki, and then rushed over at full speed to stop them from leaving here. Seeing the unclean people who appeared beside him in an instant, Loki's face suddenly became ugly, and he was doomed. He was not able to fight so many monsters. Loki, get down. At this time, Odin's powerful roar came. After hearing it, Loki subconsciously pressed Thor down and lay down. The next second, a huge beam of light shot out from the entrance back to Jotunheim. It hit the group of unclean people and evaporated most of their bodies into smoke. The remaining parts fell to the ground. Seeing this, Loki looked at the entrance and saw Odin, who was fully armed, walking in with the Spear of Eternity. The beam just now was fired by Odin using the Spear of Odin, the first weapon of the 9 realms. Then a large number of Asgard soldiers ran in, helped Loki and Thor up, and returned to Odin. Father, Loki wanted to say something, but Odin shook his head. Leave here first, and go back later. Although Odin's tone was quite calm, it was full of coldness and ruthlessness. This made Loki understand that after returning, it would be a big deal. But there was nothing he could say, so he could only leave here quickly. Boom 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 boom. At this time, the buildings in the distance suddenly collapsed continuously, and many unclean people were seen running over at a high speed, crushing everything. The momentum was amazing, like a tsunami covering the sky and the earth. Get out of here. Odin immediately gave the order, urging everyone to leave here, and he immediately retreated, leaving the Red Sea world and standing in front of the entrance. Find that disc. Take it down, Odin ordered, and the disc was attached to the ice wall, turning the smooth ice wall like a mirror into the entrance to the huge Red Sea world. If it is not taken down quickly, the monsters can run directly over. After hearing this, the soldiers of Asgard immediately looked for the disc everywhere. But the ice wall was too big, and it was difficult to find where the disc was attached in a short time. At the same time, the group of unclean beings with amazing speed were about to rush over. Ha! Odin immediately stabbed out the Odin spear, bursting out a powerful light, and destroyed all the unclean beings. But this was not the end. He saw more and more unclean beings running over. The number was very terrifying, and there must be hundreds of them. Have you found it, Your Majesty? We are looking. The soldiers of Asgard were also very anxious. They looked around everywhere, but they couldn't find the location of the disc. Disc, is that the object itself? Loki immediately understood what was going on, and then looked around, and then saw a light spot flashing at a high position on the ice wall. So he took out a knife and threw it directly at the light spot. Snap! The knife hit something and made it fall. The thing that fell was the disc connecting the Red Sea world. The moment the disc fell, the Red Sea world behind the ice wall disappeared instantly. But at this moment, the disc suddenly stopped in the air automatically, then turned and flew towards the ice wall automatically, trying to stick to it again. But at this moment, Odin's left eye suddenly glared, and a powerful divine power burst out, turning into a cage to instantly bind the disc and prevent it from sticking to the ice wall. Then under Odin's control, the Red Sea disc fell into his hands. The disc kept turning, trying to break free from Odin's restraints and stick to the ice wall. It was not until it was held by Odin that it was willing to be honest. "Father, have we succeeded in taking him in?" Loki asked curiously. "I think so." Odin looked at the screen after he finished speaking. The Red Sea world disc in the Marvel world has been successfully contained, and rewards are now being distributed to Odin and Loki. Loki couldn't help but smile when he heard this. I didn't expect that if he knocked down the disc, it would be considered part of his meritorious service. He was curious as to what this screen would reward him with. Reward Loki Frostmourne. Reward Odin, Odin's robe. When the screen sounds, a long sword appeared in Loki's hand. The hilt of the sword looked the same as the devil's head, and there were jagged edges on both sides of the blade. A terrible cold air kept emanating from the sword. A statue appeared in front of Odin. It was a sword inserted into a large piece of crystal. It looked ordinary. But Odin keenly felt that it contained terrible power. Odin's shirt. Is it Odin from which world? Odin knew very well that there was no Odin shirt in his collection and equipment, so he deduced that it was something from another universe. Odin's shirt is the divine battle suit of a certain Nordic god King Odin in the universe. It contains Odin's divine power. When you wear it, you will have unparalleled divine power and pull out the Belmont sword that can cut off all evil in the world. Quote. When the voice on the screen just finished, Odin couldn't help but reach out and touch the Odin shirt. The next second Odin's shirt suddenly decomposed automatically, and the so-called crystal split into several armor parts and were automatically equipped on Odin's body. The Belmont sword also automatically falls into Odin's hands. When Odin put on Odin's jersey, he felt that his divine power had increased to an extremely terrifying level. The majestic divine power surged out of his body like a fountain and shot straight into the sky, splitting the sky of Jotunheim. It even caused the surrounding earth to shake continuously. This is the power of Odin's equipment from another universe. Odin looked at the Odin shirt in shock, unable to believe that his power could rise to such a terrifying level. And he keenly felt that this level of improvement was only a small part of Odin's shirt. Can Odin be so strong in other universes? The water in the multiverse is deeper than I thought. Odin couldn't help but breathe heavily. He thought that he was the king of the 9 realms and had few rivals in the entire universe. But Odin's shirt made him understand how small his vision was and how stupid his previous ideas were. It's just that the equipment is so powerful, so how terrible is the original owner? This feeling reminded him of the time when he faced the celestial team. Father, your power. Loki had to be shocked by how powerful Odin was now, just standing aside and feeling the pressure of Odin's power. He felt like his body was about to be crushed. Buzz buzz. At this moment, Frostmourne kept trembling and exuding fierce cold air, seemingly trying to resist Odin's power as much as possible, but it was in vain. Odin immediately controlled his power and calmed his mind as much as possible, then looked at Frostmourne in Loki's hand with some confusion. The ice energy erupted by Frostmourne is very terrifying, even colder than Jotunheim. Frostmourne, also known as the Sword of Filial Sun. It comes from a different world called Azeroth. It is a lonely sword of ice. Thoughts are magnified in it, souls are reborn in the fall, disasters are rampant in sorrow, and there is no way to stop as to destroy. It is as light as a feather, as cold as ice, and its endless power constantly attracts the fallen to play with, but it prefers those extremely miserable people, giving them the power to take revenge on the world, causing the world to fall and disasters to fall. Ability 1, Frost. When holding this sword, you have the power to control ice and snow, but ordinary people cannot withstand the terrifying cold air coming from the sword. Ability 2, Soul Absorbing. After killing the enemy, you can absorb the opponent's soul to strengthen yourself. Ability 3, Undead Natural Disaster. After activation, an army of undead will be created from the surrounding environment. The so-called undead army is the countless enemies that Frostmourne has massacred, including knights, mages and even dragons. The souls of the enemies are all sealed in Frostmourne. As long as the owner of the sword has enough power, he can completely kill the dead. The souls are released for their own use and transformed into a terrifying army of the undead. After hearing the explanation on the screen, Loki couldn't help but look ecstatic. This magic sword is actually so powerful, has many abilities, and can even strengthen itself. It just suits him so well. Loki himself is not as powerful as the Asgardians, so he is somewhat looked down upon. Now that he has this magic sword, no one can look down on him. But why is this sword also called the filial sun sword? Loki was quite puzzled by this. Loki, the ice power of this sword is very terrifying. Are you okay? Odin next to him asked worriedly. It's okay, and I don't know why, I feel very comfortable. Loki held such a cold frostmorn without feeling any discomfort at all. After hearing this, Odin's eyes couldn't help but change, and he thought of something. Odin, just then an angry roar came. I saw many frost giants running towards them in full armor. One of them was wearing a king's cloak and looked extremely majestic. His temperament is much more outstanding than other frost giants. He is the king of Jotunheim, Laufey, king of the frost giants. Odin, are you bringing so many people to start a war with Jotunheim? Laufey stared at Odin with great anger and shouted. Laufey, this is a misunderstanding, Odin said quickly. Misunderstanding? Your son massacred countless of my people, and you led the Asgardian army to come to me. You made such a big fuss, and you told me it was a misunderstanding. Laufey's words were full of incomparable anger, which made Jotunheim's temperature drop a lot. Blood debt must be paid with blood. Since you want to start a war, we at Jotunheim will not be afraid. Laufey's eyes were full of hatred and malice. Asgard's behavior today has completely trampled Jotunheim's face under its feet, and nothing can be said about it. Laufey, I brought the army here because something terrible will appear, but I told you that you can't do it. Odin tried to explain, but he didn't know whether he should tell him about the Red Sea world and the contained objects. Haha, what's wrong? The great king of gods has also become a liar. Laufey smiled evilly when he heard this, then burst out with extremely powerful strength and rushed towards Odin. Buzz! At this moment, Odin's shirt burst out with a huge force and bounced Laufey away, scaring all the frost giants to rush to catch it. Heimdall! Odin couldn't care less and could only shout to the sky. The next second the rainbow bridge landed, wrapping everyone in Asgard and taking them away from here and back to Asgard. Laufey looked at the sky with a look of reluctance and clenched his fists hard. Seeing this, many viewers have their own ideas. Tony Stark. Hey, I feel like you guys are in bigger trouble. Nick Fury. This is provoking a war between two alien races. Odin. This is our Asgardian private matter and has nothing to do with you. Warring States. Then what are you going to do? Are you really going to start a war? Odin. I'll try to avoid it. Ancient One. I care more about your rewards, Odin's robe, God's armor, I don't know how high your power can be improved. Odin. I haven't had time to study this yet, but just a small part is enough to make me far beyond my current strength. If all of them are activated, I'm afraid I can have the top power in the universe, which is the single universe. Ancient One. What? When Ancient One learned how powerful the reward Odin received was, he had to look solemn. Although Odin has never attacked the Earth, what if he is too powerful and has some ideas? This forced Ancient One to hold the Eye of Agamotto. Facing a single universe level, she had to release the full power of the Time Stone, plus the power of the Demon God, to be able to compete. This screen is a bit too much. It never gave me a chance to take action. Ji Yi couldn't help but say something like this, which made the people next to him open their eyes wide. Congratulations to Sun Wukong from the Dragon Ball universe for successfully containing the Red Sea disc. Dragon Ball universe. On the snake path, Sun Wukong looked in pain, with injuries all over his body, and he was holding the red disc in his hand. He was lying on a cart, and the people pulling the cart were Shiji and her maid. I'm really sorry, but I need you to help me drag me to the Palace of Hell. Sun Wukong thanked him. It doesn't matter. After all, you saved me. If you hadn't saved my life, I would have been dragged there by that terrible monster. Shiji said gratefully. But, what on earth is that? Snake Girl looked at the Red Sea disc in Sun Wukong's hand doubtfully. Well, I don't know how to explain it. Sun Wukong smiled helplessly. It was really a narrow escape just now. More and more unclean people came up. Sun Wukong couldn't fight them all, and he was seriously injured all over his body. In the end, he tried his best to escape. It was really embarrassing to be beaten into such a miserable state. Fortunately, every time a Saiyan stands up from the brink of death, his strength will be greatly improved. Now Sun Wukong is recovering from his injuries under the treatment of Shiji. When he fully recovers, his strength will be further improved. Congratulations to Son Goku from the Dragon Ball universe for successfully containing the Red Sea Disc. Now you will be given rewards to transform into a Super Saiyan. When the sound on the screen sounded, Sun Wukong had a lot more information in his mind. In the universe, Vegeta and Nappa are about to arrive on Earth. What? Super Saiyan? After Vegeta heard the word Super Saiyan, he stood up excitedly and looked at the screen in disbelief. He knows better than anyone what a Super Saiyan is, the strongest warrior in the universe. It's just that he always thought it was just a legend. Now it seems that it is true. Super Saiyan is the strongest warrior in the universe in the legend of the Saiyan family. If an ordinary Saiyan wants to transform into a Super Saiyan, he first needs to practice a lot to improve his strength, and then have a calm heart can finally transform into a Super Saiyan when it explodes in extreme anger. The screen began to explain things about Super Saiyan, and both Goku and Vegeta were fascinated. After transforming into a Super Saiyan, you will have 50 times more power than normal. Of course, there will be some side effects on the body, and it is very energy consuming. It requires a lot of physical and mental training to achieve it without wasting and reducing side effects. Super Saiyan is not the final pinnacle. After the voice on the screen said this, he stopped talking. It's amazing. It can actually be strengthened 50 times. It's much scarier than Kaio Fist. Son Goku murmured with a shocked look on his face. If his injuries and physical strength hadn't fully recovered, he would have really wanted to try transforming into a Super Saiyan. In the universe, Vegeta couldn't help but clenched his fists after hearing how to transform into a Super Saiyan. Do you need to have a stable heart, but also be extremely angry? How can you be angry enough? Vegeta skipped the calm heart first and thought about the problem of anger. The oppression under Frieza's hands was enough to make him angry, but it didn't seem to be enough. Kakarot, you are so lucky to get the power to transform into a Super Saiyan. I, Prince Vegeta, can definitely do it too. Vegeta had a gloomy look on his face, unwilling to be left behind by a mere low-level warrior. Hey, by the way, the Dragon Balls, just use the Dragon Balls to turn me into a Super Saiyan. Vegeta quickly thought of a shortcut and showed a cold smile. Some people on the screen are leaving messages at this time. Bruce Wayne, hey, he turned into a Super Saiyan. Son Goku is also a Saiyan. Sun Wukong, yes, I haven't said it before. I was sent to the Earth when I was very young. Bruce Wayne, what were you sent to Earth for? Sun Wukong, you asked me to invade the Earth. It seems that Saiyans, even as babies, are sent to invade the Earth to improve their strength. It's just that my head was smashed, so I forgot about it and always thought that I was an Earthling. Nick Fury, wait a minute. You were sent by the invaders, and now you want to rebel against your own compatriots. Sun Wukong, I don't think they are my compatriots. Even if I am a Saiyan, I am still a native of Earth. Bruce Wayne, this, Piccolo, you don't mean to say anything. Sun Wukong is dangerous and a threat to the Earth. Don't worry, that idiot doesn't have such thoughts. Sun Wufan, my father will not harm the Earth. Vegeta, this guy is a traitor. Don't think that becoming a Super Saiyan will make you invincible. I, Prince Vegeta, can definitely do it too. Sun Wukong, just come here with your horse. Bruce Wayne looked at this conversation and said nothing. In his eyes, the enemy's compatriots were untrustworthy. If it were him, he would definitely monitor them comprehensively. Fortunately, there are no such aliens on our Earth. Bruce Wayne said with relief. Doraemon, wait a minute, in this case, the only world left without containment is the Naruto world. Luffy, why haven't they responded yet? Something happened, right? Natasha, you'll know if you take a look. Then everyone looked at the screen of Naruto world. As a result, Kakashi and Might Guy were seen running away in a very embarrassing situation. Because there were more than a dozen unclean people chasing them. The two of them were now using all their speed to escape. For this reason, Might Guy specially unlocked several of the 8 gates, and Kakashi also used the Sharingan copy to release them. But no matter how fast they increased their speed, they could not get rid of the group of unclean people. Roar, roar, roar. The unclean people kept punching Kakashi and Might Guy, forcing the two to hide in a very embarrassing situation. Kai, I told you not to come in, and you're in big trouble. Kakashi shouted anxiously. Sorry, I didn't expect there would be such a terrible monster here. Might Guy's face was also very ugly and he couldn't keep calm. When they encountered the first unclean attack, both of them tried to fight. But no matter whether it was Might Guy's physical skills or Kakashi's various ninjutsu, they could not fight against the unclean, and even if they could cause injuries, they would heal quickly. Then more unclean beings came, forcing them to flee everywhere like rats crossing the street. Hold on, the entrance is right there. Might Guy shouted to Kakashi after seeing the entrance not far away. Boom boom boom. At this moment, unclean beings appeared out of nowhere, blocking Kakashi and Guy's way. Add to that the people chasing them from behind, and the two's route was completely blocked. After Kakashi saw the unclean ones around him, his eyes were full of panic. Even though he had experienced countless battles, he could not remain calm. Because the power, speed and self-healing ability of the unclean ones are really terrifying. Kakashi, keep running. At this moment, Metkai suddenly shouted. This is the trouble I caused, and I got you into trouble. Just let me cover you and leave. Metkai took a stance and said. Kai, do you want it? Kakashi immediately understood what was going on. That's right, just let me clear the way for you. I will liberate the 8-gate Dunjia. After Metkai finished speaking, he took a deep breath and prepared to free the 8 gates in one go. Idiot, things haven't come to this yet. After Kakashi finished speaking, he immediately grabbed Guy's shoulders. Hoo ho ho. At the same time, the unclean one's fist was falling and was about to hit the two of them. Kamui. At this time, Kakashi took off his forehead protector, revealing the Mangekyo Sharingan, and used his divine power. The next second, he and Metkai were sucked into a different space at the same time, avoiding the attack of the unclean one. Then, more than 20 meters in front of the entrance, the extra-dimensional space was opened, and Kakashi and Kai jumped out. Haha, haha, luckily it was in time. Kakashi gasped. Kakashi, I didn't expect you to have this trick. Metkai said in surprise. This move consumes a lot of chakra. When Kakashi spoke, his voice had no strength at all, and he couldn't help but fall down. Fortunately, Kai caught him in time. Hold on, Kakashi will leave it to me. Just when Guy was about to continue running with Kakashi, a huge stone flew from behind. Hit them hard. Boom. Under the attack of the boulder, both Kakashi and Metkai were knocked into the air, and then fell heavily to the ground. They were seriously injured in an instant. Cough cough cough. Kai looked behind him in disbelief, and saw an unclean one raising his left hand. It was obviously the one who did it. It was just close. Kakashi looked at the entrance with some reluctance. It was blocked by a pile of rubble. At this time, outside the entrance, some Jonin came over under the leadership of ninja dogs. Since Konoha was invaded not long ago, manpower is needed everywhere for construction, patrolling, etc. The ninja dogs spent a lot of effort to find these Junin. Hey, there's another world behind this mirror. Are you kidding me? Asuma looked at the mirror in disbelief, and couldn't help but reach out and touch the stone blocking the way through the mirror. Kakashi and Guy are on the opposite side. Move the stone quickly and save them. I feel that Kakashi's condition is very bad. The ninja dog said quickly. Okay, leave it to me. After Asuma finished speaking, he concentrated his chakra and attacked the stone, breaking all the stones into pieces. He saw Kakashi and Metkai lying on the ground not far away, as well as the unclean one coming over. Seeing such a tall and terrifying monster, the Jonin couldn't help but lose consciousness and look shocked. This terrifying monster rivals Kyuubi in terms of size. What is this? Kakashi, Guy. Seeing that Kakashi and Guy were seriously injured, Kurenai screamed anxiously and hurriedly ran in with others to save them. Boom. But just then an unclean person's arm fell in front of the mirror entrance, blocking their way. Then an unclean one bent down and looked at the Junin. Asuma and the others were so frightened that they quickly retreated and distanced themselves. Facing such an ugly and huge monster at close range, no one could remain calm. Ooh, the unclean ones saw life in another world and stretched out their fingers to reach it. But the entrance was too small, and its fingers couldn't avoid it. Instead, they blocked the entire entrance. Crack, click, click. The walls around the mirror were cracked and broken by the unclean people. Such movement made several Jonin look ugly, fearing that this terrible monster would come out. Boom! At this moment, something suddenly fell from the sky behind them and fell heavily to the ground. They were so frightened that they quickly turned around. Jiraiya, you idiot, where did you catch me just now? No, it was really an accident. I was holding you on just now because I was afraid you would fall. Do you think I believe it? Tsunade and Jiraiya's noises were heard. Tsunade was seen yelling at Jiraiya, who was lying on the ground with an angry look on his face. Who are you? Yuhi Kurenai quickly got into a fighting stance and said. After hearing this, Tsunade immediately looked over and saw the fingers of the unclean one. Sorry, now is not the time to tell you this. I will explain later. After Tsunade finished speaking, she pulled Shizune up and then looked at Jiraiya and Naruto, who were still in a dazed state. Seeing this, Tsunade turned her head helplessly. Shizune, let's go. It's Tsunade-sama. Tsunade immediately ran to the unclean one's fingers, equipped her arms with armed haki, and then gathered powerful chakra. Tsunade's strange strength, coupled with the blessing of armed haki, let her destructive power increase to an even more terrifying level. Boom! After Tsunade punched the unclean one's fingers one by one, an extremely violent movement broke out. It will directly knock the unclean person's fingers back. Then Tsunade and Shizune immediately ran into the Red Sea world. At this time, Kakashi and Kai had been captured by the unclean people. A group of unclean people did not know what they were communicating with, and seemed to be discussing how to distribute the two people as food. Let them both go. After Tsunade ran in front of the unclean ones as fast as she could, she burst out with domineering aura. The domineering power suddenly spread to the unclean ones and the others. The huge deterrent force caused the unclean ones to lose their minds and lose control of their bodies. They let go of Kakashi and Metkai. Let Tsunade go over to catch these two people immediately, and throw Kakashi to Shizune. One person carried the other and ran toward the entrance. Ooh! However, the unclean ones soon woke up, saw two more humans, roared, and rushed over to attack. TCH, is the heat not enough, Shizune? After Tsunade finished speaking, she threw Metkai to Shizune. Shizune immediately guessed what Tsunade was going to do, and quickly used her shadow clone to catch Metkai and then ran faster. Just stay still. After Tsunade finished speaking, she gathered a large amount of chakra into her arm, and at the same time, all the armed haki was compressed on this arm. Ha! As Tsunade roared, she punched the ground. Boom, boom, boom. Then I saw that the land was torn to pieces by Tsunade and was constantly collapsing. Let the unclean ones lose their balance and fall down in an instant. Shizune had already expected it and immediately jumped up to avoid the movement under her feet. Shizune jumped up quickly to avoid the abnormality on the ground to avoid being interrupted. He directly approached the entrance and ran out with amazing speed. Tsunade-sama, come back quickly. Shizune turned to look at Tsunade and shouted. Okay. After Tsunade responded, she immediately ran towards the entrance at full speed to get out of here. Ho 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 ho. At this moment, several more unclean ones rushed over to prevent Tsunade from leaving here. Get out of my way. Tsunade frowned and once again burst out with a powerful and overbearing domineering look. The domineering spirit here is not just as simple as the spirit of intimidation. The surrounding ground was torn apart with dense cracks like spider webs. The flesh and blood of those who were unclean were also partially decomposed. The huge body lost control in an instant and fell heavily to the ground. Not long after Tsunade gained haki, she used it quite well, which is really amazing. Bang, bang, bang. Tsunade's stomping on the floor was like an explosion of gunpowder. Each stomp exploded with amazing jumping power, and she returned to the village through the mirror in an instant. Asuma and the others saw what had just happened, and they all showed extremely shocked expressions. None of them knew who Tsunade was, but the strength displayed was too terrifying. None of the Jonin present could guarantee that he had the ability to fight against Tsunade. After Tsunade came out, Shizune immediately took out the kunai and cut off the glass part that attached the Red Sea disc. In this way, even if it is connected to the Red Sea world, no one can pass through such a small space. Ho 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 ho. The unclean ones at the other end of the passage roared at the small entrance and exit. They really want to go through and feel the breath of life, but they can't pass through such a small passage. I could only stand there and howl in dissatisfaction, and finally walked away. I wonder if I will be hiding there waiting for someone to pass by. Then put it in a small box and keep it. Shizune took out a small wooden box and put the disc inside to seal it. Are you the granddaughter of the first Hokage, Senju Tsunade? Asuma recognized Tsunade and quickly came up to ask. Yes, Tsunade nodded and replied. It's really you. Meet Tsunade-sama. After everyone learned Tsunade's identity, they were extremely shocked and quickly bowed to see her. Okay, no need to be so restrained. After Tsunade finished speaking, she looked at Jiraiya and Naruto, who finally got up. You two finally got up, it's of no use at all. Tsunade said, dissatisfied. This made Jiraiya and Naruto scratch their heads helplessly. Congratulations to Naruto World for successfully accepting the Red Sea World Disc and awarding Shizune Yatsura the bloodline. At this time, the sound of the screen came. After Shizune heard it, she suddenly felt like something had changed in her body. The Night Rabbit clan is a very powerful alien fighting nation in a certain universe, with power that far exceeds that of humans on Earth. With age and training, their strength will continue to increase, easily surpassing the limits of humans on Earth. Originally, the blood of the Night Rabbit clan was engraved with the killing instinct, and their bodies would be dominated by the killing instinct, and they were afraid of the sun. But the Night Rabbit bloodline given in this screen will not have these problems. Quote. The explanation voice on the screen sounded. After Shizune understood, she looked at her body in shock. In this case, would she still be from Earth? Became an alien all of a sudden. How weird. Shizune, no matter what your blood is like, you are still Shizune. At this time, Tsunade patted Shizune's shoulder to comfort her. No matter what kind of blood you are, you have inherited my medical skills and can treat the injured. Bear with Shizune. Don't forget this. After Tsunade finished speaking, she squatted down and used medical ninjutsu to treat the seriously injured Kakashi and Metkai. Yes, Tsunade-sama. After hearing this, Shizune nodded vigorously, and her original worries disappeared in an instant. Then join treatment immediately. How do you feel now? Tsunade asked while he was being treated. I feel so powerful inside my body that I really want to let it out. Shizune replied. The screen just said that this is a fighting nation from other universes. I'm afraid they were born to fight. Fortunately, you won't be swallowed up by some fighting instinct. Tsunade nodded and analyzed. But it doesn't feel good that I'm the only one getting the reward. Tsunade-sama obviously also contributed. Shizune felt quite uncomfortable with the fact that she was the only one receiving the reward, even though Tsunade was the one who acted just now. I think the reward is based on who gets the disc. It doesn't matter such a small thing, I have good stuff anyway. Tsunade shook her head indifferently, then concentrated on continuing the treatment. Their conversation was so quiet that no one else could hear it. After more than half an hour, Kakashi and Metkai finally recovered. Although their injuries were still there, they were no longer serious. It's no problem, just rest more later. Tsunade stood up and wiped away the sweat. This made other people breathe a sigh of relief. If something happened to the two great Junin, it would undoubtedly be a huge loss to Konoha, which was already in troubled times. Ahem, Tsunade-sama, I would like to ask about that entrance and what's going on with the monster over there. At this time, Yuhi Hong couldn't help but asked curiously. This question is definitely what everyone wants to know. Those monsters are really terrifying. I'm afraid it's even worse than Kyuubi. This. Seeing everyone's questions, Tsunade didn't know what to say. The live broadcast of the contained objects, the Red Sea world, and the unclean ones are all challenging everyone's perception. I really don't know if I should say it. Ahem, regarding this matter, I will tell you in detail when Tsunade succeeds as the 5th Hokage. Just then Jiraiya came up to interrupt and gave Tsunade a look. Hey, she's the next Hokage. Others looked shocked after hearing this. Yes, the world is undergoing amazing changes now. Unbelievable things cannot be summarized by a simple ninja war. Tsunade immediately stopped talking. I will tell you the specific details at the meeting to succeed the Hokage. In short, during this period, everyone is ready to protect the village. If you encounter any abnormal situation, don't deal with it privately. Report it to me first. After Tsunade finished speaking, she and Jiraiya left here immediately and went to the Hokage building to meet those old guys. At this time, many people were discussing on the screen. Bruce Wayne. In this way, every world has been successfully contained. It seems that everyone will get good things. Diana. Indeed, I am very satisfied with this new weapon. Bruce Wayne. I just hope you can control it. Zoro. It's a new weapon. I like my Zanpakuto very much now. It suits me so well. Sun Wukong. I'm a little curious about the bloodline called Night Rabbit. They are the strongest fighting race in the universe. They are very similar to Saiyans. Vegeta. No nation in the universe can compare to the Saiyans. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.